Order. So notice of this meeting was given in accordance with provisions of bylaw 0164B of the Riverside Local Board of Education, which was adopted in accordance with section 1.450 of the ORC in the Ohio Administrative Procedures Act. Will you please take roll?
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Kruninsky,
Here.
Mrs. Grassi,
Here.
Mr. Audino,
Here.
Ms. Brewster,
Here.
Mr. Byers.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On behalf of the board, I'd like to welcome all students, staff, parents, and interested community members to tonight's Board of Education meeting. I'd like to remind everyone that this is a meeting of the Board of Education held in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business. Is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is time for public comment during the meeting in the public participation section on the agenda. I think you can make your motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. I thank you. I make a motion to pull out under 12A, which is, I think, the sixth piece of paper. Melissa Hopper's potential employment. I'd like to pull that as a separate item. 12A.
Oh, that's what I got.
She's the third name down on that, under 12A.
Do you need a second?
And this is in the personnel.
Yeah.
So it's just a request, not a
Oh,
motion.
okay.
Ah, sorry. I make a request.
Okay. All right, so we will make that a separate, not
So
a
it's
part of the
separate-
consent
it'll be
agenda.
Third, it'll be like a 12 something.
What is then 12? So we won't even do it in this part?
No.
Well, you'll still do, yeah, it'll be 12A through G, and then 12I. 12I will be
Oh,
the.
you're going to make a new one.
Which one are we, so we're removing, I thought we said we were removing 12A, or
Oh,
separating
no,
12A.
just remove the
Just
one person.
One person.
So A to G and then
Ah.
I,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
And then
A
you're
to,
creating an I
yeah,
for
A
her.
to G, and then 12I is just Melissa.
Okay.
12I.
I didn't know I
Okay.
Right.
Jimmy Lee has to read
said.
Yeah.
Just let me
Yeah,
know.
I gave him a heads
You
up.
got that now?
All right, so I make a motion to approve the agenda as listed. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Now it's my turn.
Any other discussion on that? All right, thank you. Can you call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Kruninsky,
Aye.
Mrs. Grassi,
Aye.
Mr. Audino,
Aye.
Ms. Brewster,
Aye.
Mr. Byers.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, make a motion to approve minutes as attached for June 16th, 2026, June 23rd, 2026, June 23rd, 2026. One is work session and one is board minutes, and then July 1st, 2026. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? You call the roll?
Mr. Audino,
Aye.
Mrs. Grassi,
Aye.
Ms. Brewster,
Aye.
Mrs. Kruninsky,
Aye.
Mr. Byers.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Right, and that brings us to special reports.
Okay, really excited about these special reports today because we get to celebrate some great people and some fantastic events. The first we have in the family is Allison Urbis and her family are here. And the Urbis family have had a great spring. Not only Allison, who is one heck of a fast runner. In fact, she ran her hurdles faster than I think any one of us can run the 100 without jumping. But she is the first ever girls state champ in school history for an individual track sporting event. So we're really excited to recognize that. Not only that, she is a fantastic gymnast as well as indoor, I think she won the indoors too, did you not, in the 50? No,
Second.
second. But that was right after you went right after you went to the gymnastics event, did something there that was, I mean, it's just, it's pretty amazing as to kind of all the things that happen with that. So that's just absolutely amazing. And then the younger Irvis was also the national champ in equestrian, I believe. So you talk about a family, about two parents who have nothing but pride of. It's amazing. But the board did sign a proclamation. So Allison, if you can come up here, we're gonna read this recognition of Allison Irvis, 2026 100-meter high hurdle Division II state champion. There's a lot of whereases in there for us, just so you know. So whereas Allison Irvis competed with exceptional skill, determination, and sportsmanship in the 2026 OHSAA Division II track and field tournament, and whereas Allison displayed unparalleled athleticism by competing against the finest athletes in the state of Ohio, and whereas through hard work, dedication, and exceptional skill, Allison Irvis earned the highly esteemed title of 2026 Division II state champion in the 100-meter high hurdles with a remarkable time of 14.21 seconds. On June 7, 2026 at Jesse Owens Stadium in Columbus, and whereas Allison Irvis exemplified excellence, resilience, and school spirit, bringing pride to her family, school, and entire Riverside community by becoming the first individual girls track state championships in school history. And whereas the accomplishments of our student athletes serve as an inspiration to younger students because they have set a standard for academic excellence while excelling academically at Riverside High School. And whereas it is both fitting and important for the Board of Education to formally honor and commemorate this historic and extraordinary achievement by Allison Irvis. Now, therefore be it resolved that the Riverside Local School District Board of Education on this day, July 23rd, 2026, does hereby proclaim Allison Irvis as the 2026 Division II state champion in the 100-meter high hurdles, recognizing her outstanding accomplishments and extending this gratitude and congratulations. And the cool part
Yes, that is the cool part.
forevermore, this is taller than you.
Yay.
This banner will hang in the field house.
Oh, look at
You gotta
that.
get a picture.
That's very cool.
That's the only reason I wanted to win.
It's about as tall as you are. So-
Here. And let me take a picture of you with your.
Well, we gotta
Okay,
shift this.
yeah,
We gotta
Shift
shift
over
it.
right in the middle there.
No, they
And
were
the
fine,
top.
yeah. Alright, let's get.
Yeah, I told you it was tall.
You want a tall guy back there?
You're covered.
Alright, 1, 2, 3, congratulations.
If you keep this, you don't get a copy of it. And we will also recognize Allison at the Meet the Teams night as well, with the same banner. And then it gets hung.
When are they putting that up?
Right after Meet the Teams, so before the school starts, but we will.
Oh, they want you here, found you in the hall.
Yep.
Come on.
Go and thank you for showing up and congratulations.
Thank you.
I really
Allison,
Allison, as a short person to a short person, I take great pride in that. It is high person.
Also, and then the 300s too was 7.
Like 11.
Yeah, and, I mean in the final, I mean amazing.
And the girls? the
Girls
4x1
4x2
got-
or 4x1.
4x1 got 5th.
5th.
I mean,
Or 6th.
Riverside was representing awesome.
We placed on everything.
Yeah.
It was a great weekend. So
Heck yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
All right, like I said, this is my favorite one. The other one I have is congratulations to Lisa Hall. Lisa Hall is a custodian, the day custodian at Riverview, who recently was nominated and won the first ever. The first ever Circle of Excellence Award from the Ohio Schools Council Custodial Maintenance Conference. Lisa was one of 4 people to receive this award. She was the only person chosen and nominated by multiple people for the award. So Lisa was chosen for her undeniable dedication and determination to go above and beyond each and every day to make sure her school, Riverview, runs as smooth as possible and looks its best in and day out. She helps when needed, is proactive in making sure the daily needs for the school are handled, and always goes above and beyond to help others. Lisa has great pride in her work and great pride in how the school looks each and every day for her staff, students, and parents. I was there to watch, to see her receive her award. It was fantastic, and one thing I noticed is Lisa was also the only female winning this award too. So we are super proud. So on behalf of the board, Lisa, we have a certificate. Congratulations again, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you very
and
much.
just phenomenal. Couldn't be a better person.
The
so.
only one.
The only woman.
Congratulations.
Thank
Go ahead and turn around. You get your picture taken
Oh.
too.
Alright, 1, 2, 3. Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank
I think,
Is she running with the banner?
she's out on 84. Just saying.
I would say chase her down, but you can't catch her.
No, I wouldn't even make it to the end of the driveway, so.
And so that concludes special reports for today.
you. Thank you. Next is unfinished business. Just pulling my list. That's not good when you have to pull a list.
I print that.
All right, so the first thing on unfinished business, we did have Mr. Ardino. You had asked about the organizational chart that was provided in a Friday packet. Was there any additional questions or discussion?
Well, I know that it was shared. I guess and I know this isn't Dr. Rattino's intent, but sometimes when something's in a Friday packet, it's very similar to in DC when somebody puts a press release out before everyone leaves for recess or leaves for the weekend. It kind of gets forgot about pretty easy. And although I know that's not his intent because he's doing what we asked with the Friday packet, I would hope that some of those bigger things that we once discussed at the table and decided we would revisit, that it would just naturally find its way into the board agenda. Because when it's in a Friday packet, there's obviously no room for discussion there. So while I have confidence in the org chart that you made, I just think it'd behoove us to kind of be part of this table and have a bigger dialogue. So
And that's why I put the information of where to find
yeah,
the note on where to find the information, so that there was additional discussion, we could have that.
sure. And I know I could obviously push for that, but I guess what I would love to see is that it's maybe more of a presentation, just like it was originally.
Okay.
When you gave us the org chart, it wasn't something that we requested in new business or old business. It was just kind of part of the flow of the meeting, and maybe it was in a slide or there was a printout. So I guess maybe more of a spoon-fed process to us that would open that up for debate. Obviously, I looked at it, but I can't assume that we all looked at it, but if it was here in person and a part of the agenda, it would be in front of us and allow us to have a conversation here. So, yes, I did look at it, and I don't know if any of my peers have any questions based off of it. I'll stop there. Okay. That Ms. Grassi was close to asking a question.
I think sometimes our board meetings are so long that if we lose, that's why I think a lot of this is important to bring it back up, because it's so overwhelming and voluminous sometimes.
I think we were kind of agreeing there.
Mhm.
Is that my takeaway? Okay, just want to clarify.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess, when you say they're so long, I think when we bring some of these things that can be communicated in the Friday packet, though, that makes the meeting longer. So I guess I don't know. And we can discuss it more, like, what are those expectations? And I think it's important for us to try to say, we expect that this comes back that way, right? It's just
Sure.
to say, so
I
I think we have to get better.
Yeah, we probably could be a little clearer there, but I think this one particular example, we did say, revisit this and bring it back to the board. At least that's the way I remember it.
Okay.
So I thought it was just kind of presumed that we would reevaluate that as a group and take a look at it then.
Okay.
And maybe I'm not remembering it correctly, but I feel confident
That's
that I am.
okay.
Yeah. I guess one question I would ask is, maybe you could share with us the criteria that you determined who was going to report to you versus the assistant superintendent, those two roles in particular.
Yeah, I did list that in the Friday pack, but I think
Yeah.
what we're what I look at specifically is my those who I would consider the direct reports, so all the central office team are direct reports to myself. And then in terms of the directors and the principals, I have those whose contract is up this year. So who I would be making the recommendation for their contract extension or kind of moving forward from that. So that's who I selected to evaluate this year, and then I think the others were to Mr. Leon for the principals and for the directors, as well as Dr. Thompson has volunteered to take a couple on as well. And that's definitely appreciated. Take the load off both Dave and myself moving forward. So that's all.
So in Old State, you had transportation, latchkey, food.
Food service,
Food
yes.
service, excuse me.
Mhm.
There were 5 directors.
Yes.
Who am I missing?
Yes,
Maintenance.
maintenance, technology.
Technology. And now you have.
And now I
Of those
have,
5.
I have Lasky, whose contract is up this year, so she
Mhm.
can be, for year one. I kept maintenance because I'm working with the Buckeye Project, and I was with Mr. Ellis the entire time. I gave, technology to Mr. Leon because technology directly relates to, teaching and learning and kind of the implementations of technology that's there. Food service and transportation, Dr. Thompson, we went with that. Food service obviously having a large financial impact, and they kind of run themselves with their own kind of entity, but the finance coming in, the shared services, and then transportation as well. We're looking at shared services at different levels. Bringing we met Mr. Powell on board. Dr. Thompson has great experience with transportation and kind of running that, so it was a natural fit. And he was nice enough to volunteer to kind of say, hey, take these to help the team out. So we took him up on his offer, and he's already met with Mr. Powell, and kind of they've started with the ESC, and they're kind of moving forward. So.
Okay. And
So
then
that's 4 of them. Was there, so latchkey, technology, food service, and transportation, and maintenance?
Maintenance, I have maintenance.
Okay.
Okay, and then you said Dr. Thompson's org chart is changed?
So Dr. Thompson picked up food service and transportation, which that has not been the case in the past.
Yeah.
And then does that also flow on who does the evaluations
Yes.
of
yeah,
those
yes.
people?
So the primary person involved is the evaluator. Who's designated there as the primary evaluator?
I think it's, again, I think good to note the team effort here, because again, it would be optimal to have somebody who would be overseeing all the director roles, but we at this point cannot make a decision to bring somebody on. So I
would
appreciate everybody kind of working together and figuring out how we try to do that.
Has the org chart been updated to reflect all that?
The one that I put in the Friday packet was, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And again, your explanation, thank you, that's what the packet doesn't always provide, is the context. And while I'm not looking to personally question your decision, it just allows us to kind of be on the same page so that moving forward, it's helpful for us to see your vision, not to question it, but to at least see
Absolutely.
it and in some way adopt it so that we're helping push the same narrative. So just, I would ask that in the future, things that we have once discussed at this table, if it's not officially finished at the table and there has to be work to be done, I think it should just be safe to be assumed that it should find its way back at this table on its own.
Is the organizational chart something that we should approve as the board?
We probably should get something on there. The org chart itself, the one that we specifically dealt with is the central office org chart. There's the series of org charts I would recommend. I would bring them to finance and personnel to kind of double check and make sure. But I know that Mrs. Ayla really worked hard to kind of get the numbers tied to it and all that. So I would recommend approving the entire series of org charts. And I believe it is a policy that is in there. So I think we can bring that through. We can move through policy committee or through finance and org. Is it a policy or is it a?
It's policy 1100.
Yes.
Is that something we could do all at once, or is it like when we did the curriculum updates, we brought them in?
We have them done, so we can do it all at once.
I would just need to update numbers if we're looking at current school year, kind of leading into the current school year. I could get those updated. It's mostly for all the departments, the non-teaching staff and our certified staff. Those numbers have shifted probably a little bit.
Okay.
So
I would almost recommend taking the numbers off. I think from a policy standpoint, if
She
you
likes
take the
that.
numbers off, it's a little bit easier and it kind of makes it consistent.
Oh, yeah, you don't have to keep changing it.
Yeah, so you have to keep updating it and changing.
Can we do that?
In August?
Do we have 2 meetings in August?
We do.
Yes.
We'd have to get a curriculum meeting scheduled sooner rather than later, I think we can work to get that committee together, to look at it and go from there.
So sometime, one of the August meetings. Okay.
So with the, you said Dr. Thompson's doing food service and transportation, so we have the one person that's assisting, but we have somebody.
He's not an evaluator, he is a consultant who assists
Yeah,
with the,
right.
with the learning, and all that, but then the actual evaluation will come from Dr. Thompson.
Okay,
And that individual was the transportation director in Akron when I was the
Oh, I
operations
see.
person at Akron. So I have a relationship with him and know him well. He's
Okay.
pretty much the king poobah of transportation, so.
and we talked briefly just about loose ends,
Mhm.
one of the things that had to do with the rust proofing, so is that person?
I did not get a chance to follow
Yeah.
up with Mr. Policy, what he did, and see what's on there. So I
But with
will-
the transition, I
And
just
then ask,
wondered.
you also requested to talk to the mechanic, so I will get to that as well, and get their feedback on, do they notice a difference?
So again, just to kind of follow, so can you bring a, update to that?
I will.
At the
Yep. I
August
will-
board
we'll have
meeting?
that.
One of the two August board meetings?
Great. So update on both the.
Well, the
board-
policies
Yep, so
will-
policies will be on the, as an
Agenda item?
agenda item, and then I will do an update with rust proofing with, the undercoat.
What we've learned.
Yeah,
So I think we've asked for
sun's
that.
coming in.
Yeah. Hey,
No.
Dr. Thompson, is there any information with that recipe update that you can start looking at, like, repair cost, maintenance cost for the buses?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we
If so,
can-
there's anything in that update that we can tie back to
will.
financial,
Yep.
that would be good to bring together.
So
What
some
it
kind
doesn't
of data
prevent is
showing,
poles from falling on things.
Whatever we can show, I know it's hard to pull together, but
we might be able to use, the state highway patrol has to inspect those buses every year. And one of the things they check is rust under the body of the bus. So that's a lot of times where they go bad. So we can maybe compare the buses they inspected to this year's inspections, which will be this summer. And we can see if there's any correlation or anything from the state highway patrol where they would indicate that. I mean, this is pretty early in the experiment, so I'm not sure what kind of data we can pull, but that might be the place to start.
yeah, I think it'll continue to develop.
I think the other would be just some, I mean, it's not, numerical, but even just talking with our mechanics as to
Yeah.
what.
Yeah, our mechanics will give us
I
some
agree.
good feedback
I
too.
think that's a good feedback to kind of have them
Yep.
come in and have some, and they're very open to have those conversations.
And eventually Evan, after
Yeah.
he gets some time, will get a handle on it, but obviously he would have no
Yeah.
reference.
Well, he's drinking from a fire hose right now.
Yeah, sure he is.
When does the Ohio State Highway Patrol come out and inspect?
They
Throughout
have to
the year.
inspect, yeah, but a certain percentage of the buses have to be inspected before August.
Before August?
Yeah, well, before August is over.
Does that make sense to bring in that in September then, once we get that
Yeah, we
inspection
can come
done?
back in
Is everybody
September
okay with bringing that
something.
back in September?
Yeah, we'll come back with a report, or I'll have that.
Okay.
I've heard of people doing this with their trucks or other vehicles. When they buy them new, they get them like almost a rhino liner coating. Has that ever been looked at as far as a feasible option to protect them for the life of them? Would it last? Is anyone going to study?
I really
that?
don't know, I know rhino liner and a truck bed, but that's about as far as I know
Yeah.
rhino liner.
Yeah, but I've heard of people undercoating their trucks with them.
Okay, I'm not sure.
You know,
We'll look into
well,
that,
you
too.
would have to do it almost when you buy them new, because once they start rusting, you'd have
We'll look into that too and just compare costs and see what this undercoating that we've already purchased, how different is it than rhino coating? I don't
rhino
know.
coating should last much longer, where this stuff is yearly.
This is yearly, this is spray, it's a spray that adheres to the,
Yeah, I've done it on the old vehicles, yeah.
okay, I'll look into it.
All right. So again, policies will, for the org charts, we'll bring back to the business, or to the board in August to approve. And then the rust proofing update will be September. Right. The next one is board communication with district staff. So Ms. Grassi brought that back to unfinished business. Did review it, I put in the notes. I had to go back and figure out when was the last time we talked about it. It was the March 12th meeting. There was some takeaways, so I asked Dr. Tino to give us some updates on his takeaways, and then I know Mr. McIntyre has some ideas that he's been thinking through that he can provide to us, so do you want to start?
Yeah, I did a little research. I know there are some local governments that have kind of office hours prior to their meetings. In looking at kind of what that is a very different form of government than the board government. So for us to do it would be problematic, whereas they're different. So they're under different guidelines. And I did confirm that with Mr. McIntyre today to make sure that what I found and what I looked up was accurate. So to kind of see where that is, I think that's that could be an issue as a part of it.
Can you expound on that? Like, why is it okay for them, not for us? Like,
Well, it's hard for me to offer an opinion on.
right, I'm
what
just
somebody-
curious.
Right, what someone else is doing, but I will tell you that, our primary consideration here is always going to be the Open Meetings Act. Meaning that you as a board are obligated to do your business, including the discussion of and the receipt of relevant information regarding your operations, your decision-making, personnel, just the general status of the district. We have to do that in open session at a properly noticed public meeting. Can one of you do that? Yes, one of you can do that. You probably do it every time you go to the grocery store or you're out in public because someone stops you and says, hey, what about this? What about that? Here's my thought about something. All of that's perfectly legal, but to try to make that a part of our operations, we have to always be focused on how can we do this in a way that's compliant with the sunshine laws, in particular the Open Meetings Act. So when we're talking about a group of you, that's when the obligation to have a public meeting is triggered. So can there be a one-off situation where one of you sits here at the table an hour before the board meeting and receives information from community members that might want to offer that information? Yes, but I'm not sure that really works, as Dr. Rotino said, within our kind of system of government. The value of that information is in part lost because the rest of you weren't there to hear it. The rest of you weren't there to ask questions about it. The rest of you weren't there to really start the process of your due diligence. And then it becomes really just you reporting to the rest of the board about what one person or a group of people may have shared with you. And so my suggestions, ideas really, more than suggestions, really are focused on, one, can we do this in a way that's compliant with the Open Meetings Act? And where each of the five of you have an equal share in the responsibilities of whatever that forum might be. Because it's really important that you all hear the information, that you all have the ability to follow up, that you all have the ability to then take that information and discuss it as a board. Now, we do a lot of committee work here in the district. That's just two of you, of course. It's compliant with the sunshine laws because those are publicly noticed meetings. But that committee has limited authority. It's really to study an issue, collect information, and then bring it back to the full board for discussion and decision. So you could follow that type of format for this, I'll just call it school community engagement opportunity. Lori, as board president, has the ability to create ad hoc committees under your committee bylaw 0155. And you could create that in an open, sort of open format, which means it can cover any number of topics that the board has identified. It could cover whatever topics the committee decides are important. It can hold meetings, invite people, open it, of course, to the public and hear whatever comments, suggestions, ideas, complaints, what have you, and then bring that information back to the full board. So that would be a way to just make it two of you. You could have topic-specific ad hoc committees. So maybe you have one that addresses a specific operational interest. It could be added to the responsibilities even of your existing committees. and that you can essentially expand their authority to be more of a clearinghouse for information. So that's one idea, sort of the ad hoc committee approach. Another idea, and for whatever it's worth, I've had some experience with this, and I'll share some of that information with you all. But these are just some ideas that my partners in my office, just colleagues in general in the school practice, and school clients that we represent have talked about, and have, when I asked them over the last few months, hey, what about this idea? What would you do? How have you done it? Have you ever talked about it? Have you ever given it serious consideration? So I've compiled that list. So one idea that came to me through this discussion was essentially to have district sort of listening sessions / town halls. They can be open agenda. Now that's a format where you would essentially call a public meeting, you would notify the public, you would even invite people that you felt might want to say something. It can be topic specific, or it could be on any topic that someone might choose to bring. It could be by building. You know, you could do one in each of your buildings. And you can make it more of a focus that way. Invite staff, invite community members and parents, invite students for that matter. However you would choose to format it. That would be a publicly noticed meeting. Anybody could come. You would probably have open mic, and it would really just be kind of mostly a flow of information to the board. But I would imagine that there would be some discussion in terms of perhaps follow-up questions, perhaps requests for additional information, maybe even some early brainstorming around a specific idea. But you would all be there to hear it. You would all be there to participate and judge it for yourself and help guide the district going forward. Another idea that somebody suggested to me was the idea of a board or board focus groups. So again, topic specific or general. Publicly noticed meeting, sure. It would be all 5 of you, unless you did it in the committee format, which would require Lori's approval of that ad hoc committee. And that focus group, though, would be a more structured discussion. So less like a listening session / town hall, more structured. You would perhaps bring questions, ideas, you would invite people. You would want to make sure that there was a certain number of people that did commit, because it's hard to have a focus group, you know, with 2 people. You would want to try to create some, you know, PR around that and get some buy-in and hopefully get people to come. Again, it could be just on any topic, or it could be very specific topics. Another idea that people suggested was to have a standalone special meeting called a study session or a work session, whatever terminology you like, and it would be also possibly on just on a general basis or on a specific topic. So you've now devoted a specific meeting. It would be a special meeting, not a regular meeting. And that might involve a presentation from administration. It might involve community members that you would invite to make a presentation. And then you would discuss it. So this is one step beyond the focus group, which is a structured discussion. This is one step more toward you deliberating on a particular topic or series of topics after receiving information that you've invited. Now, one person had a suggestion, and I don't know that they do it in this district in particular, but they've discussed it, and that is they have a standing study session agenda item on not all, but many of their regular meetings. And that would be sort of a microcosm of the special meeting standalone where you would have a presentation, have a discussion, come to some outcome or some next step in the process. Another idea which I thought was fairly creative was to have what the person called appreciation board meetings. And in this particular district, they discussed doing this on a building by building basis, where they would invite the staff, they would invite, the non-teaching as well as the teaching staff, they would invite parents. They would express, you as a board would express your appreciation for the things that they do, and then as a part of that agenda would be an open mic kind of discussion. You know, the idea that perhaps, it would be, there would be some snacks or beverage, the kind of thing where
I'm in.
you would,
I'll come back.
we have an amenities policy, and this would fit within that amenities policy, or you could certainly ask for, PTO, or, parent group to, boosters to subsidize the food and beverage costs. But the idea would be you're giving something and then you're asking for something back from the people who would attend. And then the last one, which I don't know really suits the interests that I think have been discussed already, because I remember 2 discussions on this, one back in the middle of winter, one snowy night, and then one in March. And I know the board wants to sort of lead this and initiate this, but a slightly more passive way of doing that would be to have and we've used it before, a community advisory panel, essentially where you would compile a group of community members, staff members, administrators, etc. They would be charged with a specific topic to discuss and to bring back recommendations, ideas, even questions to the full board. And they would be given, the support of the school resources to do that, and then invited to a meeting to make a presentation on what they've studied and what they believe to be valuable for you to know. So it's really kind of, those are the 5 general ideas that I got, and they can all be kind of overlaid with each other into different hybrids, but that's how the list broke down and that I was able to compile.
Thank
So what about, I'm just curious if this would work as a suggestion, a committee that we would convene, and we currently have a policy committee, they only meet infrequently, like maybe that could be the avenue for, where departments, instead of having departments come in here and give special presentations or whatever, that they would be invited like maybe twice a year. If this is the opportunity for the IT department, we're gonna have this department committee where they could come in and tell their concerns, what's going on in their department in more detail, because we get 5 minutes from them, whatever, and sometimes their concerns are valid, that there's some things that are going on, I get it, it comes through you, but having those people who are entrenched in those jobs be able to come and share what it is that they're seeing, problems that they're having, so that we could then know as a board, like what kinds of things we need to address. I mean, things are already going through the administrative office, but just giving them the opportunity to be heard about them as well. I don't know if that's something that.
Yeah, I like the ad hoc committee approach, and I like the idea that you would charge them with some specific ideas on how to proceed. I also like the committee idea from the organizational standpoint. You have a superintendent who is your CEO, you have a treasurer who is your CFO, and that committee structure works very well with our organizational structure, and it doesn't do anything, the committee structure in my opinion doesn't do anything that would inhibit Dr. Rotino and Dr. Thompson from doing the jobs that they're employed to do. So I think it could work very well.
Just something to consider. I mean, I know that we keep talking about it and trying to give people an opportunity to come and just have some conversation and hearing in their words the same things, but in different words.
Dan, the special meeting concept where it was a presentation and then a special meeting, how would that be different than now we have our public policy or our public participation policy that says we offer public participation policy at any meeting? If we announce the topic ahead of time, give the presentation, the public could then speak on it after that, basically, and we would still have that kind of direct feedback on a specific topic, which we've never had before.
So I want to be careful. I think, Ms. Grassi, you are really, I keep hearing staff, I think, is kind of one of your main focuses.
Mhm.
So, and I think
That's different than,
that could be
Than the
more
other one,
public,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Not that both are important, I think, but Ms. Grassi's looking from a staff, how can we get the staff to participate, right? Yeah.
So in any of these examples, are the board members allowed to respond? Because in public comment now, if we use that example, there is no response.
So, I mean, the answer is yes. There's nothing that stops you from responding.
I understand that we're
You're
not supposed to reflect the whole board in our response.
You're not obligated to respond. That's what our policies say. That's what best practice dictates, that you're not obligated to. However, if you're going to create a forum for a discussion, then it makes perfect sense that you would respond. But we would want to make sure that people understand that this is a working session, a study session. These are just ideas, and the things that you say may reflect your position, but not anyone else's, and that this is essentially a brainstorming session.
And we potentially, correct me if I'm wrong, we could make that as a part of our meeting announcement. When the meeting kicks off, we could say some disclaimer where the views from the board members are that of the board member, not representing the administration or the other board.
Yes.
I like the 5 suggestions you gave. While I see pockets of things that I like in all of them, they became less favorable as you went. They became a little more removed from a conversation between two people. I did like the subsidized snacks though, so we'll have to find a way to.
Hey, I got some time, I'll bake.
Well, there you go. And I think Ms. Grossi and I both have shared this in previous meetings, that the ad hoc seems to be, at least in my opinion, the most favorable in the sense that we can have targeted audiences, we can rotate what kind of audience we're looking for. While we can't stop anyone from coming in, of course, we could say, you know, we strongly recommend this audience to come, whether it's parents for Lamuth or staff of this content or what have you.
I think you could do location too, right?
Yeah,
Like if
sure.
you're looking for, yeah.
Yeah.
So you could be creative.
Right.
I know in the past, it was nice to be able, like we started at Riverview at the beginning of the year, but to be able to go to the different schools. Logistically, I know sometimes that's hard, just to host a meeting in their school, and maybe there's some information we put out that we'd like some feedback on. But the other thing is, we've had each school highlight some educational program that they're doing, but maybe we look at the departments and see, like technology, what they are working on, what's happening, what are their future needs, what are their glitches, those kind of things.
You know, I look at it from when we do buildings and grounds, or when you have curriculum meeting, you've got department people in the room who are, like, it's conversation. There's a lot of dialogue going on back and forth, and no decisions are being made. We're just hearing a lot of stuff. We're hearing issues, we're giving ideas, they're giving ideas. It's really, to me, a really essential part of what we do, and it works, I think, for us. But we don't hear from everybody, so we don't really hear from all the departments on a routine basis, even if it's only twice a year, for example, right? Like, we don't hear from them, so we're not hearing about what's going on in the nurse's office, what's going on in, Latchkey. Like, what kind of issues are we having? Is there anything that's revolving around that? And maybe inviting them to something like a committee meeting where we can have those conversations, hear what your problems are, what kind of things should we be bringing up as a board, and saying, maybe we should prioritize these. I've never heard these things before, right? There's a lot of dialogue that goes on in those
Could
meetings.
you incorporate them into committees that already exist? Like, could
Perhaps
IT
perhaps we
come to
could. I mean,
programs?
right,
You know
we
what I mean?
could.
Like, so we're not adding another
Correct,
layer?
and I
Could we
think-
use the structures that we maybe have already?
I think it would be helpful to try and figure out what would that look like, who would be appropriate to go where. It's, not a bad idea. I'm just trying to hear from the most amount of people.
Yeah, I think we'd have to be, and I agree with you on that. We'd have to be cautious of when we had those meetings, so that those people felt like it was an appropriate time. 7:30 a.m. is rough for especially people who are then going to work. But I also think that we also want to be slightly cautious of not going down a slippery slope where we circumvent the conduit of the org chart. I would love to hear from teachers and staff, but I also don't want that to become where a teacher, using them as an example, has a problem and they come to this forum to fix it, rather than going to, say, their department head, their principal, etc.
I think that's what Mr. McIntyre was
Right,
also
and-
kind of, yeah, so.
I just think more
absolutely.
discussion about how to make that work isn't a bad idea, to at least continue to try and figure out how can we make it work? Who would be the appropriate people that we would invite for certain things, and which committees would they come, and who would that be? And, you know, if they have lists of concerns or things that they would like to bring up, yes, by all means, like, yeah, here's my agenda, and make sure that you're looking at that before the meeting. I just think it's really helpful.
All right, so from a board perspective, when it comes to staff, are we saying the ad hoc committee and try to see if they can fit into other already existing committee meetings?
That would work.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Would that be limited to just staff, not community?
So that's my next question. So
Okay.
I think there's this, I think we have to look at them separately, right? For
Okay.
staff, that 7:30 meeting probably is perfect,
Okay.
right? Maybe not all community members. So are you thinking ad hoc committee meetings too for community members? Like we could pick a couple different topics?
Yeah, I think Ms. Krause would agree. I think some of her points have also been driven towards community feedback as well, not just limited to staff.
I mean, it would be nice to hear it from students sometimes,
Sure,
right? With
yeah.
if they have a teacher moderator or whatever, like, that they could have approved agenda where they actually have some time to talk with the board about what their issues are, just to anybody in general. I'm just trying to figure out what it looks like.
Right. Absolutely. So I guess what I would ask, put a little bit of structure around this, if there's any specific groups or topics or ideas that the board thinks that we should try to form these ad hoc committees around, could you please send those to me? And then I can work with Mr. McIntyre and Dr. Attino to figure out how do we do that? Like, do they fit in another meeting? Do we need a separate ad hoc meeting so that, ad hoc committee meeting so we can put those on the agenda? So we'll try to put something together so we can move this along.
Yeah, the last thing I want to do is
Is that
have
okay?
more meetings.
Well, I wonder if we don't add it as a part of, and I think this Bruce kind of hit it when we said we had the Riverview. That was to do a tour of the new section of Riverview, but do we not do some meetings where we travel and we have meetings at different buildings? And if we notice it ahead of time, and then we specifically invite, we typically bring the principal and like their people in to present to the board here, but do we have those presentations and those sharings at their home building? And
I
that's
think
a-
it's an
that's a-
option too.
That's a thought.
I think that's 7:30 a.m. here for a Parkside teacher, and we have the end time of 8:30. There's just too many, if I'm a staff member there, I know I'm not gonna make it to work on time. I wanna get in my classroom for prep. I probably don't even have a prep, no offense. And I'm against the clock of 8:30. We're against the clock of 8:30 trying to get and go out of work. I think the meetings, when we're inviting whatever group, insert any group, should probably be in the evening.
Yeah, so what I would ask, and again, I think we have to look at what they are. Let's figure out
Yeah.
times that work best for the people we want to make sure are engaged, right?
Sure.
So if you could send your ideas, because I don't want to guess that I know what everybody's interest is, and then I'll work with them to figure out how do we make that work. And bring back a proposal, right? So I'm not saying whatever we come up with, but at least something we can
Yeah.
put some planning around.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a process, it's something new for us, and we'll see how we can make it work.
Thank you. If you send me ideas, like in the next 2 weeks, what's today? That would be like August 7th, maybe, is that what, maybe you have a calendar up?
Yes.
That's about right.
2 weeks from today is the 6th.
The 6th, I was close.
You work close?
If you can send me ideas by August 6th, that'll give me some time then to work, put together. I will try to have something, when's our last board meeting of the month, in August?
27th?
27.
Then I can try to have something together by the 27th.
We could have some discussion on the one part, because there's two in
Yeah,
August,
13th.
potentially.
Well,
Yeah.
so bring me your ideas and we'll try to get
Try to
something
get
for at
something.
least the 27th.
Yep.
And I think that, I don't think it precludes our administration from providing their IDs as well, right?
Right.
Like, I think you guys have a good idea of how we can make it work, maybe even better than we do, so.
Great. All right, the next one was student and staff dress code. Mr. Adino, again, this might be one of those things, there was some information provided, I just wanted to point out in the Friday packet, but I wanted to make sure we have any discussion outside of that we wanted to hear of it at the table.
Sure.
I got a question for you guys. Today we received a email regarding the, so yeah, as a parent, you got that, right? You did not get it?
He doesn't have students yet.
I'm not a
Kids-
parent.
Kids in the school.
It
Well,
was
so that's what I wanna
It was for
ask.
high school only.
I get it. So let me ask you this, when those emails come out, like I get it 3 times, so in multiple emails, is there any way to include those? Because I know, Nick, they come to the board email, but I think I'm getting them on my board email because of, it's on my,
What,
Yeah, the phone policy email did not go to the board.
if the email didn't come from me, I don't know what.
Oh, you
email
didn't send
we're
it?
talking about.
That came from the high school directly. They have their.
oh,
each
I'm
building
sorry,
has
I
their
assumed.
So that came from Mr.
This was
Hall.
called a campus electronic device policy,
I'm not sure what
and
it,
that was
I
sent
wonder
from,
if there's any way for us just to make sure the board, like that one I think would be helpful that the board knows these communications are going out, right? So as I'm reading, I'm like, I wonder if the entire board received this, so,
then obviously they didn't. 'cause
yeah,
they're-
I hear
so-
some no.
Normally, when I send district email, I always forward it to Riverside staff, which you guys are all on.
Yeah.
But I don't, I can't speak to today because I'm not
I
sure what
assumed
we're
it was a
talking about.
communication and
I would caution you to think about what distribution list you want to be on, and I always use the example of, I don't want to know when the toilets don't work at John R. So while that might have been a good communication, there might be 50 other ones that you probably don't care about. So I don't know how to distinguish that, and I hear what you're saying, but you're gonna end up with a lot of stuff that you don't want.
Yeah, so I don't know what the answer is, but I think that type of communication would help answer some of the
So I
questions.
think that's, as we start to look at specifically, well, just even looking at strategic plan and community engagement and how we get those messages out, it's about how do we inform the board to the important things that go out there, but then keep them off of the.
Toilets don't work upstairs at John R.
And part of
We don't
that
care.
is a change in culture.
Maybe.
And just as the principal writes it and sends it, yes, send it to the staff, but also, you know, the board, there's a board distribution list that goes in, so add that to your sending as well. And I think that can be something that we start to work through and kind of see what that looks like.
Okay.
Maybe we just have a Gmail folder, like a doc folder that stuff can get, I know, like, and then you can at your leisure, like, go in and look and see what.
yes, honestly, or the simple fix is, if we don't want to worry about getting a toilet update, if the administration sees an email like this, they know we're not on the, just forward it to the board. One of you pick who's going to do that. If it's Nick, then from now on, when you see an email like this, it just
Yeah,
gets
I think
forwarded.
Nick was totally, you didn't see the
It's,
email.
I don't have kids at the campus. so
Right,
I-
but that in itself shows a humongous gap, right? Because the communications director doesn't have a communication email.
No, the principals communicate amongst their own parents.
To their own building.
Well, I understand that, but wouldn't you want to see the communication that's getting sent out? Just using you as an example?
They send stuff out every single day to.
Well, I know, but maybe you don't want everything every single day, but, okay, regardless of that, I agree with Ms. Krasinski that we're going to revisit this.
Yeah, so can you consider, like, work with Nick and the building administrators and see, like, how, I agree. I get too many emails as it is, because I am, so I get it. But I think, when I think about the dress code discussion, and I think the cell phones was a discussion also, like, how do we, those type of communications would be good for the board to know they are going out.
I think that is, well, I know, because I just built the agenda, that is a topic of our all administrative retreat on the 4th, is to
Okay.
talk about that, along with notifications and calendar, and invites to make the board aware. So we're gonna call for some ideas there, and we'll bring them back, either in the Friday pack or we can also bring it up in the discussion.
And knowing Mr. Caravine's standards for communication, which you do a great job, this email, I don't think will probably check all of your boxes using this as an example. That's why I think it'd be beneficial for not only the board to see, but the administration. So this is the email, I'll read it out loud. Hello, campus families. Here is the electronic device policy for RHS campus for 2026-2027 school year. The end. It doesn't say, parents, we encourage you to open this and revisit this policy with your students so that you're aware of the policy. This is a policy that we hold true to blah, 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 blah. Where they're solely relying on them clicking this link and reading the document, which if you have TikTok or Twitter or anything else, you know the attention span of most people is less than 30 seconds. I unfortunately think that, and maybe they have data that shows the click rate of opening that link, and if I stand corrected, then so be it. But I think that perhaps something as important as this, because obviously somebody thought it was that important to send it out to all the parents, maybe the context of the email should be some little more thought should go into it.
There were two, then the one that I was referring to was the other one that dealt with dress code, the electronic device policy wasn't there. It was the welcome back letter.
And that was a different format, so I don't recall seeing that one
I didn't
yet,
see
but
that
I
one
have,
I did see the welcome back.
And that
the
one
4
too?
day,
That one too, I
the
believe.
school is 4 weeks
That's
away,
right.
please read the summer update.
Yes, that one.
So, yeah.
What's the title of the subject of the?
Campus summer update.
Oh, so that is just the other sentence with another link. Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the bulk of it is in the.
So I have always encouraged anyone sending emails to not do the click the link, because most people are not gonna go the, it's one thing to get them to actually open the email, and then it's another thing to actually, for them to go the extra step to click the link. So I've always encouraged, put everything in the body of the email, bold, headlines, things that you want.
Well, with all the phishing attempts now too, having links is not a great
Yeah.
idea. Because you don't know who's sending it.
Right.
And honestly, that's what I expected you to feel, knowing your
I mean,
standard.
we do go over these things, and in fact, on our website, it's communications expectations and guidelines for staff
Sure.
members, and it talks about emails. Literally, there's a page for how to write an email, get to the point, make sure you change your, I can't tell you how many times people send emails and don't change the subject line, so the subject line will be from a past email, and it has nothing to do with the new email. I mean, it's,
Yeah, and skimming this document, it's well done, it's not very lengthy. Frankly, it could be the email, it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be an actual link. So that's why I think.
it's certainly something we'll talk about again on
We will-
when we
we
get
will
all the
absolutely
administrators and
revisit
directors
and-
back.
and
I'm not even sure, 'cause, we'll talk about it more.
Okay.
Yeah, the other
So-
thing that kind of goes along with that, there was an email sent out in May from John Renwick about tech training. It's a state cybersecurity training, and it said it was coming August 3rd and had to be completed by October 30th, which include board members, correct? It was sent to us. So we have to do that coming up, right?
It's in line with our public school works
Right.
deadline, so we'll be communicating that more as we
Okay.
get, everybody comes back at opening day.
All right.
So back to this real quick, so if you could bring back an update, winter meeting in August?
August 4th.
Okay, so sometime in August again,
Absolutely.
an update on kind of, if there's any ideas on how to get important emails to the board, and then, I'm gonna, in quotes, so we can, that mean importance broad, depending on the topic, so let us know, and then also, just an update on kind of those, it sounds like we have communications, best practices, kind of reinforcing those.
Yep, we will.
Did we address your dress code concerns?
No, not
No,
yet.
I'm just asking so I didn't have to morph it.
Yeah,
No
that didn't
worries.
About the emails, are you, from a board perspective, are you interested in understanding how often we're communicating this stuff? Or are you interested in actually seeing the communication? Do you see those are two different things? Like, if you want to know if we're communicating about dress code, then we can track how many emails. You know what I mean? Like, that's one thing to do. And we can say, hey, if you want to, we sent out 7 emails in the month of August about dress code. If you want to see them, here they are. Or are you wanting to see, these are the emails that went out this month for dress code? Do you see how those are kind of two different questions? And maybe you can't answer it now, but if you can, I feel like if you give Chris and Dave a little bit of guidance, then what they tell the building principals in August, you might get what you want back faster than having to do this for 3 months before we actually get at what you want.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know if I have an answer for that necessarily.
Okay.
Because I went into this not really thinking about the email part of any of it. Now, because I received the campus electronic device policy email earlier today, I had a chance to look at it. When I saw that, I actually said to myself, wow, this would be a great way to remind parents about the attendance policy as well. Not knowing that at 3:30, there was going to be a campus summer update. But honestly, as a parent, campus summer update, to me, tells me I'm going to get a recap on what took place on campus during the summer. So I would never think that I was going to get a policy reminder on X, Y, and Z. So I probably wouldn't have clicked it. As a board member, I would have clicked it tonight. As a parent on the board, probably wouldn't have clicked it. My wife is a good judge because she reads everything, and if she didn't read it, then I can assume that I definitely wouldn't have as a parent. But I think that and this is why I was suggesting that maybe there be, not necessarily a policy, but a best practice that Mr. Carabine be included on those kind of communications so that he can police them to his standards, which we all know are high. And perhaps the subject could have been a little more specific in this example, other than campus summer update.
So I think your question is valid. I think Jimmy Lee, Ms. Brewster, Ms. Grassi, because you're gonna start getting every email around this campus like I do.
Sure.
So you'll see plenty of them, right?
Yeah.
And to you, it'll be just natural to see them. I guess the people that are not getting every campus email, like, right, so in your case, to Dr. Malaker's question, like, is it more important just to know, hey, we are communicating about dress code and we did it 7 times this month, right? Like, what would you look for?
What would I look for? Right, what is the expectation of the board on dress code, and have we communicated it? Just tell me how many times we've, I don't need to see them. That's
Maybe
Nick's
the
job to make
suggestion
sure
is
that, like,
maybe in Dr. Tino's Friday packets, if it's not urgent, because if it's urgent, we always forward you, like when we have lockdown or emergency, that goes to you guys right away. But maybe going forward in Dr. Tino's Friday packets, if something went out that week about, something relevant to the board, we say, hey, we sent this email and we share the email in a PDF or something.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I mean, at the end of it, if the parents on this board don't like what the email said, that'll be addressed, I'm sure. You guys will hear about it,
Yep.
right? For me, like, I'm not there anymore, so it does, like,
Sure.
okay.
So, yeah. Again, these are things we'll talk about on August 4th, but we have multiple principals in this building and in this district. Sometimes I'm glad they just send something out.
Sure.
Because then you have some who don't send anything out a lot of the times. And it's so it's trying to get them all on the same page. But then they get so busy and a million things are going on in the schools, and so it just doesn't always come out how we expect it to or how we want it to.
I would agree. I also think we do, and we have started in the past couple of years doing almost a retreat and a half a day with our admin assistants at the buildings, who are the ones who actually send them and hit click, and they're the ones who link it. So having that with them and sharing that expectation with them, which I'm not sure if that has been done.
Okay.
But kind of reiterating that with them as well, either people are on the ground like that.
Okay.
They become a branch of marketing.
It's almost like having standardized content that they just have to fill in, like, right? And having some control over this is what our emails are going to look like. You just have to fill in the blurb. Okay, great. You do know what I'm saying? Like, I know some districts do that.
Our system has a template, and it's really just filling in the subject line and then the body of the email. But some people do things on, different design templates.
Well,
they put it into a PDF, and then you.
And maybe we should, again, we worked really hard to do one district, one mascot. Maybe it's time to, like, one district, one email form, like, everything looks the same. You have some standardized.
So if you're sending out, say, dress code several times a year, and each principal has to set them out, we can set those up as delayed. You can schedule all types of emails to be sent out at various times throughout the year. Maybe that's an option for principals who don't tend to send things out. Some of the more repetitive stuff. I don't know if that's already been done.
I feel compelled. it feels to me like we're really straying way beyond the role of the school board. There's policy that's going to dictate communication and how communication flows. It's in policy. We're really getting far away from approving the budget,
Because-
policy, and evaluation of the treasurer and superintendent.
Because I think we have policy that says X and then we don't.
Well, I would guess that, I'm guessing, so I'm being upfront about that, but I'm going to guess, because this is what I've seen historically. Communication, the policy will say that the staff communicates through the superintendent communicates to the board through the president communicates to the board members, creating a flow of information, creating consistency, and creating a chain of command. And it feels like good intentions, but we're really diluting any chain of command or any flow of information.
Which part?
Um,
I don't think anyone's suggesting we have the final say on what's written.
No, I'm not suggesting that, but I'm just saying, I don't know, there's a lot, it's going to be very difficult for the district administration to discern, well, what does the board want? How, this email, that email, this email?
So I think for me, that's part of the strategic plan, is like, what does the communication plan look like? And as long as we have that in the strategic plan and we know we're working, this is the plan, and we follow the plan, then the accountability is we follow the plan. I don't, like, at the end of the day, send out whatever communications you want to send out, as long as it falls within the strategic plan, everybody's getting the information, parents are like, right?
That is
But we have been trying to
communicating.
get to that point for a really long time, and this communication has been in the strategic plan like 3 times now, right? Like, just, what's the plan for the plan?
It is now community engagement.
Well-
Because it's specific to that.
So, okay, so right, like, let's just make that as
I-
part of the strategic
so-
plan, let's figure out what that looks like, and
I
then the
would like
board
to
should
say
be happy with that.
we're moving in that direction, and I think it started with even some of some standardized templates that, that Mr. Carabine came up with. When you look at email signatures, they all look the same. When you look at some of the things that we're doing, I think it is taking the next step and really moving to it. I do believe that it absolutely falls in the strategic plan, and when we work on the action items out of the strategic plan, the objectives out of the strategic plan, we put the people who are directly in charge of it to work through it. So I think that's a great way, and a great almost to work through it, to have those standards, to have those expectations, to have like kind of all of that. I think that's where it comes from. Is we've heard that we need to increase community engagement both internally and externally. So what does it look like on both ends, and what are the expectations of that, and what does that look like? And I think we've got a great team that can start to really build that out.
So-
And then the other part of this plan that I think that I was going to talk to at one point was about really and truly identifying those KPIs from this plan, which we didn't have with the last one. But really, what are those KPIs? What do they look like, and where do we start? Do we have a baseline, and how do we know we're growing? So I would say the baseline is we look at the emails that we're sending, and we have some samples of those, and hey, these are click on, and these are things. And then we move from that as to what the next step is, because we are emailing. I mean, I think we could pull numbers of emails that we send to families all the time. We send a lot of them.
Honestly, so I can look at reports on our writer, it's 70 to 100 messages a day,
And
district-wide, depending on.
And some of those emails are targeted to, hey, such and such, bus is late, all of that aren't really there. But those informational email updates is what we truly want to focus on, and who they get to, and then the audience that they hit. And I think that's where the strategic plan is, and that's what we would share with the board.
So, Dr. Thompson, I don't disagree with you. I think where this is coming from is there's a concern about our policy not being enforced.
And
And so
that's a
that's where-
totally,
yeah.
and that's a totally different conversation, right?
Yeah, that's all I only came
I
to
don't
that
disagree.
topic.
I don't disagree with what you said. Clearly, that email is probably not the most effective way to communicate. But that needs to go back to
Yeah.
Dr. Patino, and Dr. Patino has a conversation to address that issue, because that's.
I don't think anyone wants anything more than that. I know I'm not looking to police any form of communication. I have confidence in everybody in this room to do that. I think it just organically came up. Coincidentally, we're talking about dress code today, and there was an email about dress code, and it
That's
just kind of
great.
went hand in hand.
How I was relating that back to your question is you, getting that email, you know something is being pushed out, right?
Sure.
You know that it is being discussed. So back to your dress code, sorry that I took it down. I think still it's important just to help us understand what that communication plan looks like. I think it's important to the board, if there is an expectation or something that you're concerned with, let's tell Dr. Ratino so we can make sure we get emails or how we need to be notified.
I think, if I can paraphrase, the concern was, what does the enforcement look like, and what is the accountability to the policy?
Thank you.
Right.
That's my only
Pretty
point,
succinctly,
frankly, for
right.
today, is not that I debate. I think that the policy is articulate, and I think it is sufficient. I think where you see pockets, and I come from this both as a dad and a board member, is just in the implementation of the policy. I think that there are examples where, luckily my daughters don't watch this because they'd be very mad for bringing this up, but when I mention to them, I remind them of the policy, the response I get is, well, one of them said, "You're the only one who cares."
Right.
And they weren't referring to anyone in this room. They were basically saying, no one says anything to me at school, so why do you care? Well, I care because I'm your father, and I know that people at the school care, and I know there's 1,000 policies to, you know, sometimes you have to pick and choose. But I feel that sometimes with dress code, there's probably, I don't want to say that. I'm asking that we communicate with the parents, because when I skimmed, and granted I didn't hear live, when I skimmed the dress code email, there wasn't anything in there about, penalty is the wrong word, what's what I'm looking for? Thank you, consequences. Consequences, it's kind of made clear in the paragraph setting that what might happen with the cell phone, but the dress code, it was kind of just, here's a reminder of it. And I think it would help parents to arm them with saying, no, this is a policy and we're going to follow the rules and we're all on the same page.
Is there any follow-up? I mean, now you set your expectations, is there any follow-up that you want them to bring back?
Well, you know, he, and I also spoke the other day on the way out from a committee meeting, and he's instilled confidence in me that it's being rediscussed with the staff at the beginning of the year.
August 4th.
And I trust wholeheartedly that will happen. What I want to make sure happens, and he's assured me that it will, August 4th, I know will happen. But what happens in December, February, May, when we get closer to the end of the year, we know things tend to.
I would agree. I think that's something when we speak about some of these, all of them, I would say, we start off the year great. And, you know, we start off the year great with trust code, we start off the year great with electronic devices. As the year progresses, I think there are times when we need to take some breaks and come back and remind not only students, but students and families about cell phone policy, about dress code policy. And typically the natural times, so to schedule those emails, the natural times are after long breaks.
Yeah.
And to kind of send those out ahead of time. So we will add that to our agenda as well as a takeaway.
Yeah.
To start to be proactive in all of these. So
And I'm not suggesting we stand with a clipboard and go, gray shirt, tall socks, tall socks.
Mhm.
I think there's probably a pick and choose of some of those things, but using crop tops as an example might be one that we don't pick and choose. It's just, that's a hard line.
Thank
Okay.
you, sorry to
Thank you.
sidetrack
Yes.
us. Do you want to follow up though, like,
I would say, let's see how I have confidence that you will reapproach this with the board if you feel that it's needed. And of course, while I'm here, I will take note.
Starting in August, you're going to see emails skyrocket once the secretaries and principals come back and things get going.
Here.
So we'll have that conversation again with them, and I always forward stuff to all staff about, like I said, about communications expectations and guidelines, and even templates through Bright Arrow, and like when you should send a text versus an email, and when an email should be super long versus, you know, just like all that kind of stuff that I hope staff reads, but you know how it is.
well, I think that comes through, and again, like, let's go back to the strategic plan, is to we use from start strong from that out.
thank you. Gifted acceleration programming, again, there's some information in the July 17th Friday packet, so I just made a note of that so everybody could take a look at it. But Ms. Brewster, is there anything else that you want to discuss there?
Well, I had an opportunity to talk to Dr. Rotino, but basically, we're obviously waiting on the state regarding the math acceleration and how we're going to serve those students. So that's still being defined, and then we'll plan accordingly. I was speaking more about students who are currently being advanced by subject, and sometimes, like for example, I use the, like Riverview, if they're in 5th grade and they need advancement, they have an opportunity to go to Lamouth. I remember that discussion in a curriculum meeting. But was that communicated to that student and the parent before the end of the year? Because how do they know when they walk in the door? Are they supposed to be there? Are they supposed to be, like, who does the communication, and do we have a plan? And so I think, we agreed that there needs to be some cleanup on that and an organized way we communicate that. So those students and parents know what's going to happen when they hit the door.
We do have a plan moving forward. Mrs. Britt has done a phenomenal job kind of working with Gifted to make sure that comes out. The other thing to be completely transparent, the Riverview was not an issue, was not even an option, Riverview and Parkside. It was not an option until 2 years ago when we moved 5th grade to Lamouth, to make it an option and provide that there. So it has provided us with some options to families that look a little bit different. And I think that's come through organically, but we are cognizant of making sure that when we have those subject acceleration meetings, especially at, we typically might have them in 3rd grade, for instance. We talk about the ramifications down the road, and not just, hey, this is great for you now, but this is great for you now, but here could be some of the choices that you make, so that you're well aware of it. Down. So we are doing that on a regular basis and continuing to do that, and trying to really have those meetings and be more strategic with those meetings. That's when we have them. So I think we knew there was a deficiency. We've kind of taken that out and really worked to how do we increase, and that's all part of working again, going back to our strategic plan. That's part of our gifted services and ramping those up to make sure that we deal with. And obviously, subject acceleration kids don't have to be gifted, but all learners. And all of our advanced learners, we spell that out. We spell it out great for our special ed students, and now how do we do it for the other end? And I think that's what we're doing, and we're really working hard to do that, and that would be the next step.
Right. And that was my concern, because there is no 5th grade at Buckeye or Melridge, and so then what happens to those students that were advanced and now they're in 4th grade and there's no 5th grade math or reading to go to? So, but then that's going to look different again when we merge with Buckeye and Melridge, and then the other thing to take a look at, is there a way for a teacher to cover that versus students, depending on how many, like rather than students and parents traveling or buses being used, is it simpler to have a teacher go?
Those are all year by year decisions.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring it up because I think there's always a little bit of anxiety about going to the next grade level, but you want to know what is that going to look like for me, because this is new territory.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Any additional follow-up there?
What's that?
Do you want any additional follow-up?
No, I think with our discussion, I think that with the gifted coordinator that we're going to try to iron that out. Okay.
Thank you. And last was just a little bit of follow-up on the cost-cutting measures that have already occurred this school year this prior school year so far, coming into the 2026-27, and a little bit of discussion on contingency planning for the future. And that was Mrs. Grassi's.
Yeah, and I don't have any specific conversation for this evening, but I would imagine that you'll cover some of that tonight, cover some of that when we do the 5-year forecast, when we do appropriations. So I would imagine that conversation is going to be ongoing, so.
I'll in as much advance as we can, I'll have that modeled out after November, one way or the other. And then, of course, we would, in the event that that levy didn't pass, is a whole nother discussion moving forward. So again, I'll have that modeled, what I think would be recommendations to the board. I'll model that and its impact on the 5-year forecast. So I'll do the very best I can. I think when you see that my intent is to bring the 5-year forecast at the first meeting in August, because that gives us an opportunity, if there's something in appropriations, there's something about it that you say, you know, hey, we don't, as a board, we think we should do this. It gives us an opportunity to model that back out and come back in August 27th and look at that as well. So it gives us just a little bit of a buffer. Then after the 27th, I'll tell you that we'd have to have a special board meeting because I have to submit that by the end of August. So-
And I'm hoping that between August, when we have the 5-year forecast meeting, and November, that we are actually having more conversations about modeling the 5-year forecast, about what it will look like if we, here are some things that we could potentially eliminate or cut, or changes that we could make, and here's what it will look like on the 5-year forecast, and continually be represented.
I'll have all that modeled ahead of time.
Yeah.
And then any suggestions that you want to see something modeled. You know, I don't know what that might be, but you might have an idea. I think we could eliminate X. I can model it. You know, it's not very difficult to do that. You know, maybe I wouldn't want to model it on the computer right in front. I'd like that 24 hours to double check, but it can be turned over pretty quickly in terms of what does $1 million cut look like? You know, what does $600,000 look like? What does 0.75 look like? What does 0.5? I can model all those, and I pretty much think I basically understand what you're going to want to see, but if not,
So
we can certainly get to it.
I would also say, I think to be fair, we don't do a very, or I don't do a very good job of kind of tooting our horn and the cuts we have made and the savings that we have made. We've started to do that more and more, but we need to continue to shout that from the rooftops that through just sound fiscal responsibility and practices, we have saved and we've continued to reduce as when we can without an interruption in service and all that. So I think that's a key thing. that we need to
And we've been
continue on.
gathering that data, Dr. Ratino and I, so that'll be part of the 5-year forecast on the 13th as well, to show the reductions that have made to date.
I think the message I've heard you guys say over the last handful of months, though, is that we are tight. Like our
Very tight.
budget is tight.
And we are continuing to look to squeeze more when we can, and that's with the even in transportation, we're sitting down looking to see how can we start to do that. So how can we be more efficient just by gathering information and things like that. So we had some great conversations and bringing some people in to have those discussions have helped, and we're hoping there's no guarantee. We're hoping that we're going to really see some savings from it. Moving forward, nothing is going to claw us out of this hole, but we will continue to look to make every single method we can.
Now, when you say toot your own horn, do you mean here in this audience, or are we talking about Facebook? Because clearly this isn't going to hit a lot of people.
We are I don't Facebook very well. I think we have a person for that. I think getting that message that's out there, but also making sure that what we put out there is verifiable and accurate and comes through again to say, hey, yes, this is what we're doing. I mean, I know everything you read on Facebook is true, but at least I want the stuff that comes out of I know the stuff that comes on our page is, and it is verified and it is accurate. I want to make sure that it's factual.
I don't mean for you specifically on Facebook, but
You will start to see more of that in the coming weeks and months as we put out more factual information about the levy and how we got here and property taxes and funding with the school like we're working on. I know we put it in the Friday packet again too, so not to keep talking about the Friday packet, but there was a draft of the FAQs, which one of them specifically talks about savings over the past couple of years and, you know, how many positions we didn't retain after, you know, someone retired or left. And, so we will start to blast that out more in the coming weeks and months.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to comment on is we did have the new building budgeting process that you instituted, and I don't know if there's a way to guesstimate the cost savings on that, but one of the items was the multiple licenses that different teachers were using because they liked them, but yet to have so many different ones when one could do the job for all. So
I'll have that quantified by the 13th, because that will be part of, again, as Dr. Rottino said, there's no one single move that's going to solve the problem, but start piling them together and at least we can impact it.
Okay.
But we'll show by consolidating under the Director of Technology how much we've been able to save on licensing for exactly what you just
We'll
said.
be closer. That's probably the hardest, and that is the biggest thing to step out and to get hold of is
Because that hole is about 4.2 million roughly
So we will-
to get to,
we'll be-
that's just to get to break even. That's what we're,
Not 4.2 million in software licenses, but
No.
4.2 million.
4.2 million in total
Oh,
cuts, and that's
yeah.
a lot more difficult than it
So
Well, I
than it
think
meets, because of what you said. We can, are there things that we can cut? Which, absolutely. We don't have, we could have one foreign language. There's things you can cut, but we're getting to the point where, and I'm gonna talk about it and why in my update, but we're getting to the point where you start to impact the quality of education and what's provided to the community. And, you know, you have to juxtapose that against what are the expectations people have. And if they don't feel like we're meeting their expectations, they'll pull their kids out. And when they pull their kids out, it only compounds our problem even further.
And again, all the little possibilities are not, they're not large, they're little, right? So
Yeah.
nothing's gonna get out of that hole, so, all right.
Right.
You're good with your time, that's all? All right, we did not have any new business provided, so we will skip new business tonight. All right, and that brings us to our Board of Education Committee and Liaison reports. So the first one is Buildings and Grounds and Operations, and then Strategic Plan Liaison.
Oh, sorry, that's me.
Thank you. Wise man.
So we had a Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting this past Tuesday. The first thing we talked about, and not really most importantly, but one of the large things we talked about was that the stadium light poles replacement is moving forward. Everything has been removed and the installation is set to begin the first week of August, and hopefully everything's going to be done, planned to be done before August 20th, so that will be great. It'll be done in time for everything to be happening this fall on our campus. The CTX walkway is completed last week. It is curing and that's ready to go. Gas line project has been started, and that gas line went through the band field and is complete. The damaged vans from the light pole, one of them was totaled by the insurance company, waiting to see about what we're going to get from that, but that van is being replaced.
We do have that, that's
We
on the
do that
agenda.
now, okay.
It's $42,000 is the replacement cost, and the new cost
Is
of all
69.
It's actually 71 with the sign and the decal. So it's $500 more.
So, right, and so with that, we will be on the hook for the difference between what the insurance is covering and what the van is cost. The second van is, now with someone else for their estimates.
We're
So
getting
waiting to
estimates
get
on
those.
them and their insurance company and van fixers are working it out.
Parking, the parking lot repairs on all schools are completed. Line striping will be happening in the next couple of weeks. I know that the seal coating here was completed in July. Main driveway for JK Way will be off limits July 24th until July 27th. And senior painting for the parking lot here is still a go, and that will probably happen when everybody's on campus. So yeah, there you go. Fire alarm testing and fire extinguisher inspections were completed. We test those every year, and then Every 5 to 7 years, those have an additional inspection, and then we have to replace them after so many years as they wear out. So fire extinguishers are expensive to keep and maintain, and we have quite a number of them in all of our buildings. So that has happened. The Buckeye modular units have been removed. The fencing is up and the trailers are gone over at Buckeye, and so that site is being prepped to get started with their construction.
They've started.
Yeah, they're starting. And then the abatement of the Buckeye kitchen and gym has been completed as of last week. Flooring is going to be started in the next week. Tests are due back, they were due back on Tuesday regarding the asbestos removal, and those areas should be ready to go by the time school starts. And there were some resident concerns about the retention pond and the trees, and those have been addressed at the Buckeye location and will continue to be discussed as things move forward.
She's very pleased. I heard from her.
Well, that's
yesterday.
good. Windows in the current gym and stage area are an alternate on that project, and we're waiting to see what the price is going to be on that before we commit to something of that nature. The sewer cleaning and grease traps cleaning has been complete, or is expected to take place the week of August 10th. That'll always be a fun time. And then the Parkside chiller has an internal leak. The repair cost is just a little bit over $15,500. So that is being recommended. Furnishings for the new and old portions of Buckeye and the retrofit for additional technology was just something that was discussed at the committee meeting. So we're gathering some information on the costs of all of that so that we can make sure that we get that onto either the general fund budget or the PI budget, and things will be updated as those estimates come in.
Would you like a quick update on that?
We can wait for your report.
It's not in my report.
Oh, well,
but-
then yes.
It's, so we think we're estimating approximately $500,000 for furniture.
Okay.
Those funds, our intent is when the closeout of the other project is complete, that we're being told, will exceed the $500,000 that will come back to us. We have to use that on the project anyways because it's COPS money. So those COPS dollars will fund that project.
Are you talking about the Riverview
Yes,
project?
yes.
And then there are some potential for interest on the bonds that we sell.
And we haven't,
And that is also additional funding that I don't think we've accounted for in some of our projections.
We're currently, history has been to place it in the 004 because it's all mixed in. COPS is mixed in with general fund dollars that are being invested. We could ferret it out if the board wants to. We could ferret it out and put that back into PI, but that hasn't been past practice.
Correct.
That
Well, it
doesn't
has,
mean we can't
and I
change
don't think it's been discussed yet, but at least there's some potential for that to help
Yeah.
pay for that also.
And what
Yeah.
about?
And I'll model that. I am modeling those dollars for you.
Okay. Is the playground, I know you talked about furniture, but playground replacement?
The playground there is an allowance in the GMP for it.
Okay, so that's included.
And then the last thing we talked about was that we were putting out a transportation survey to see who's planning on riding transportation
To our
this year.
6 through 12 parents, we are asking for ridership and an opt-out portion. So we know we have a lot of students who don't ride in the morning, who don't ride in the evening. That will allow us to increase the efficiency of our routes. And that's really what we're looking for is, if we don't have to turn down a cul-de-sac, we're not gonna turn down a cul-de-sac. So we're trying to make that, so even if we can save, again, that's something that we would put in, we wouldn't necessarily see the savings until the end of the year in less fuel, less wear and tear on the buses.
And it's not something that parents should be concerned that there's not going to be a seat for their student on a bus if they need to take a bus, but it does make sense that a lot of times families will say, you know, you send buses down the street with nobody sitting on those buses, and so we're doing a better job of trying to ascertain who's really gonna sit on a bus, and if you're not really gonna come and sit on a bus and you're gonna drive every single day, please let us know, and maybe we'll afford that seat to somebody else, but if you do need an opportunity to ride the
There's
bus for a
always
day,
extra.
there's always going to be room on the bus. but we're trying to do a better job of that. Maybe we can even reduce by a bus, who knows? But the routing and all of that will.
And they
take
can
it.
opt, if they opt out and their car blows up, then they can opt right back in.
So just some of the things and some of the ways that the district is going about
I
trying.
didn't mean blow up. That did sound bad, didn't it?
Slightly
The engine died. How about that? How about that? It's Italian down there. I don't know.
My neighbor's car blew up, so like, let's just.
That's
But
So
in
how does
any
that
event,
work with seasonal sports? Like, you'll like say they're in a sport in the fall, but then the rest of the year.
They could opt out for all of football, let's say, for
Okay.
example, and
Just
then
fine.
come back after
It's
football and ride the bus.
really, it's not as much those types as it is the morning routes. When you watch the buses in the morning, we have routed, but they come down really early for students. And our start time is also concurrent with parents who drive, who will, if you come here in the morning, you see a lot of cars through the line, because they're dropping their students off as they go to work and everything else. You start to see that too. So that's really some of the asks are, you know, are you driving your student to school, or are you getting them out at 6:30 for the stop when? And that's kind of what we're starting to see and work with some of that. So I think that's where the savings may come from, is more of those morning routes. Those buses are a lot fuller in the afternoon. And in sports, they're not always, it's not a 5-day-a-week commitment. Sometimes they have to go home and all that. So parents typically don't opt out of that. It would just be kind of the general, we're targeting our juniors and seniors who we know are driving, who have bought parking passes and all that, and then we're also targeting our morning drivers.
so again, it's just about letting the public know that we're doing things that they may not see or they may not consider our cost-saving measures, but we're doing our best to do the best we can at making the most of our resources. So that's all I have. Strategic plan, I don't have anything. You have some
So
presentation here.
the,
for us.
yeah, I do actually, I can talk about that now. The strategic plan draft goals for approval are there. There's a couple things to note on that. As part of the strategic plan, and I mentioned this before, I know it makes Mrs. Grassi really happy, we're changing mission and vision. Our mission is educating excellence. We've had that mission for a long time. It's prominent throughout, so that is noted in a formal document. These are just a list of the strategic goals. Our vision is we do educating excellence as one community pursuing greatness, getting better every day. So that's really kind of how we complete the mission. We have 5 goals that are listed there. We've talked about a couple of them tonight. They are, one is in student learning. We try to be concise. I know the feedback we got was there's a lot there and there's a lot of verbiage. So we definitely try to take that feedback back and tie those down. It's a simple goal: prepare every Riverside student for their success through high-quality personalized learning, meaningful relationships, and strong sense of belonging. After the board approves the goals, we will do objectives and KPI that hit those targets to show that we are preparing every student for their success. High-quality staff, empower and invest in a thriving, dedicated staff through meaningful professional growth and support a workplace culture. Again, we'll do the objectives and the key performance indicators that show that we're meeting that goal, where we are and where we're going with it. Facilities, develop and maintain modern, equitable facilities that inspire community pride and meet the evolving needs of our learners. That's going to be, same thing, objectives and KPI and key performance indicators that we're meeting towards that, what those look like. Those are in some ways funding dependent, but also looking at other sources to do some of that. I mean, our big facility work obviously is community support dependent. That's also part of the goal, is to obtain that support, to make sure we get that. Community engagement, and really working at community engagement through clear, collaborative communication, both internally and externally, so we'll have those. And then financial stewardship, which is strengthen our long-term sustainability through financial stewardship, community engagement, community partnerships, and proactive advocacy, making sure we can do what we need to do, and that we are working with those who can to make sure that we are being treated fairly by all. So.
And I think everything was addressed. The board members had the opportunity to communicate back with you. I know I did. I don't know if everybody else did. But, and then those items were addressed. There was some conversation, dialogue back and forth. And so this is going to be presented.
This will be up for approval. These goals will be up for approval in the August meeting, and we will start working on the objectives, the performance indicators there along the way.
Yeah.
And then,
So first meeting, second meeting?
I would like to do it on the first meeting. I'd like to get it soon. I would love to share it with staff at our opening staff presentation that this is where we're going and this is the vision.
And again, I think then once they figure out the objectives, like how many, what few objectives go to goal one, right? And how they want to reach goal one, and they'll bring that back to us to take a look at and understand kind of where the work is going.
We will present a thorough timeline, kind of implementation process and timeline, and then also monitoring from those. And I don't want monitoring to just be Hay-State test results that are there. It's going to be both, kind of shorter cycle assessments and long-term assessments as to what fully integration looks like. So that's why it is a 4-year plan. So those objectives and those strategies will result over the 4 years.
And we
So
won't get that information till when?
we will
Do we have a
draft them,
deadline
we'll
on
work
that?
on those throughout. We don't have a deadline towards it, but that will be, we'll start to get some drafts to you probably even in September. And then as we continue to refine by, calendar by January, we'll have hope to get some more back to the final kind of KPIs and looking at what the performance indicators are. They
So you think by
meaningful?
September you'll have the objectives?
We'll
And here's our
We'll have
objectives.
objectives, rough timeline, and some draft performance indicators as to what we think to
Okay.
measure these. I think that's a fair.
Sweet. All right, anything else?
Exciting.
Right. That brings us to Curriculum and Programming Committee and Booster Organization Liaison.
Yes, I have a lengthy report. We didn't meet in July, we're meeting August 12th.
Either for boosters either?
No, we meet semi-quarterly-ish.
Okay.
Ish.
And the bus fixer was bad.
All right, that brings us to our Policy Committee and Legislative Liaison.
Okay, we did not have a policy meeting, however, in talking with Dr. Rotino, we know that the state legislature is on recess until after the November election, but Governor DeWine has signed some legislation, so we'll be hearing more about that because it always comes our way.
Policy updates expected in August.
In August?
So yes,
Okay.
so once I get it, we'll schedule a meeting to talk about the org charts, and we'll schedule a meeting.
Okay,
Hopefully we can do that concurrent.
okay, would that include the math, is math in?
Yes, Senate Bill 19 is in there, and those do not take place until next school
The
year.
following year.
But we are working to kind of get some things in place during
So
this
it'll be
year.
in 27.
And that is waiting on, due to kind of come up with some guidelines.
Okay,
So
all
the-
right.
I just want to make sure the org charts though will go to personnel, right? Not because the policy already exists.
The org charts are a policy, so yeah, we can go personnel with that.
Okay.
That's fine. I can go
Because the
with
policy exists, that's why I was wondering. Okay.
Okay, and then we set a date for the next policy meeting, but at Dr. Rotino's request, we
that. That was
needed,
a personnel meeting.
oh, is that finance and personnel?
Finance and personnel,
Not
yes.
okay,
No.
then we're good.
We don't have a policy committee. The finance
Got it,
personnel
got
was
it.
the first
Sorry, I
school
mixed
and
the
had
two
to
up.
do it all.
Yeah, because we're the same people.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Superintendent's Business Advisory Liaison, I have a quick report also. We did not meet. Do we have an idea of when we will start meeting again?
Not yet. September.
September
Yes.
sometime?
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll have it September, early September.
All right. That brings us to the superintendent's report.
Okay. July is kind of, it is a slow month around here, but want to provide some updates on what's going on. We did officially break ground. It's a great picture of us throwing dirt at the camera person. Fencing is up on Buckeye. They actually have started the groundwork in there. We did have some concerns with the retention pond, the trees where they are, and the fence. We fixed all of those. We had a page turn the other day, worked some things out, and that process is on time, working through where we're at. So that's the Buckeye update on Melridge. We talked about Buckeye, we're talking about Melridge. We did send out official communication regarding the final year of Melridge. We're going to plan those events along the way at the stages of celebrating and honoring the legacy of Melridge throughout the year with kind of the last of the year, kind of last open house, those sorts of things, and doing some special things for those families as we close that building and transition them to Buckeye and the park that's there. Stadium lighting, real exciting with that. We did remove the remaining stadium lights on June 24th. Installation of the new lights are tentatively scheduled the first week of August. Actually, they are August 4th is the official date that they are. The crane will be there to put them up. If it is raining August 4th, it will be August 5th. We are really excited about the lighting process, and we have the opportunity to do something special. And we reached out to our booster clubs and said we have this opportunity. We're putting LED lights in. One of the options as an upgrade is the multiple colors, and you put it to music and all that. And both Riverside Gridiron Club and our band boosters jumped on that opportunity and provided us multiple $1,000 donations and pledges to kind of hit this upgrade. We're looking at the tune of $15,000. We're asking other boosters as well. So when our football team scores a touchdown, the lights kind of will dim and do different things in different colors. When I mentioned it to Mr. Allen, the band director, he is not for this year, but for next year, even looking at maybe putting a song to lighting with our band, our marching band. So we're taking it to the next level with the regiment, which would be really cool. Trying to get cowbell in there. That's the last thing I know we've done. But I think it's been a great thing. So thank you for them for realizing this is a great opportunity for the atmosphere of Friday nights, which is really special to see, and kind of tuning it up a notch. So they will hopefully be up and working for Meet the Teams, although we're never really there when they start. But we may stick around and play with them a little bit after that as well. So I know we're looking forward to it. Mr. Alessica has already said, after Thanksgiving, they always just flash red and green and play Jingle Bells for the entire month of November through January throughout.
The
So,
neighbors will love it.
so we only get a few complaints about that. Upcoming important dates as we get back into the kick of school year. Mr. Hall's message did remind me that it's only 4 weeks until the start of school. So it's exciting and depressing all at the same time for our students. Meet the Teams is August 19th, the day before school starts. That is also the day of school supply drop-offs and the open house at 5:30 at all of our elementaries. Kindergarten orientation is August 27th. That is where we ask the board to pass out T-shirts, so please come and block that during the day. We'll get you the times. I know Mr. Kerr.
It's normally at 1 o'clock. This year they're doing it a little bit differently, but I still think the time is the same. But I will let you know for sure.
So, other annual tailgate party is the August 28th, and that's from 4 to 7. And the homecoming parade is Thursday, September 24th at 6:30. So as we get more events, we will continue to update you as we get some finalization of those. We'll keep you updated. And finally, in a week, it's about to get a lot quieter around here. So, want to thank Dr. Malacca for her 32 years of dedicated service, commitment, and impact. Let's see, you're more than just an assistant superintendent. You're a friend and a colleague. I wish you nothing but the best. I know I speak on behalf of everybody, but thank you for everything you've done. We wish you nothing but the best. We'll have to find new earplugs, but really and truly, it's been great. I know the board does have something for you to present, and
It's 4 hours more of a meeting.
Look, I feel like everybody's going, what? We have something for
No,
us?
we knew.
so it's not the drawings of the buildings.
And it's not a golden shovel.
If you wonder,
It's not.
Yeah, you bet.
So we personalized it, and then made it cartoons because I look really good as a cartoon.
Much better than a photo.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you.
So we hope that'll hang
Crying
in
back
your
there?
home office or
She's not
wherever it might be.
yet.
Wait,
Not yet.
Dr. Blocker, we need you to stand.
Maybe a picture.
Photo with your
A picture with the picture.
Don't forget there's cake.
There is.
Don't bring
Actually, the cake is now melted.
After I
I'm
said, I
kidding.
forgot,
cream?
where do you want me to stand?
Right by your, right there is perfect, yeah.
Right there.
Oh,
No, the sun is right.
Yeah, that's
there.
actually.
There you go.
Let's do this. We'll do a portrait.
He's gonna crop you out of it anyhow, so.
The lighting's terrible. It's reflecting all the time.
Thank God there's only 2 people here.
It's not 1 minute.
Yeah, so bad.
We don't have to do
Do
it
you need to
right
go down
now,
in
do
out in the
we?
hallway?
Bryson, show me take a picture.
Thank you, this is beautiful, this is, I'm gonna wait till I have an office to put it in. Am I allowed to say something now? I was gonna wait till the end, because I can't say it now.
You can say it now.
No, I think You wanna wait till the end?
That could be like forever from now.
Hopefully
It
not.
could, but then, or I'm gonna leave when I'm done.
Oh, okay, I get it, all
Do you see
right.
what I'm saying? Like,
I get
I
it.
don't, yeah, so I think can we wait till the end? Like when you do your special ones.
Now, if you look closely, the board members were in one of the windows staring at you from, no, I'm just kidding. Past and present.
My kids did a
That
picture
would be
for me,
funny.
and Steve, you'll be happy, I don't think I showed you, they did a black and white picture of the front of the building, and in each one of in the door frames, they did an actual photo, but in each one of these, they put a photo that actually Nick had taken, that's colored, so to put those two things together is gonna be very awesome, it's gonna be very awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's all my places.
They were purposely fake.
They were, it's just not like I'm just absorbing it now, so if I randomly say something in the next half hour, it's because I'm actually
Hold it up one more time.
taking it in. Look, it's Lamouth where I started teaching, Madison, then I went to the high school, then I was at Madison
Yeah, so
Avenue
that is,
and the CTX.
yeah, that is Madison
building.
Avenue, yeah.
Those are all the
Oh, that was the open house we did.
That was a farewell open house.
Oh, it was, oh,
It
that's
was.
right, it
That's
was
right,
with the
it's
balloon
balloons.
arches.
The balloons.
Nick, did you find all the pictures? That's one of my
I-
favorite Riverside pictures too.
Yeah.
Did you? You did a good
Those
job.
are real photos.
All right. Next is Finance, Audit, Personnel Committee, and Alumni Association Liaison with an update.
Oh, wait. We also did not meet this month. We had a few vacations. It was a, if needed, finance meeting, so I canceled it. And then I didn't have a alumni association meeting either. I don't know if they just didn't invite me because I won the golf outing. Now they
Corruption.
So I have nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. And then that brings us to our update from the treasurer.
So I just want to note, I've taken the cupola to a different level, just saying. So I wanted to just take a minute to show you, and I think it's important to make sure the community understands that we are doing everything we can to increase revenue, decrease our expenditures, and while we don't have a lot of opportunity to increase revenue, we don't let the money just sit. We invest those dollars. We have to keep the COPS dollars fluid so we can access it quickly. So that's in Star, Ohio versus Red Tree, for example. But we do make money, and so we are projecting that the market is going to decline. But though, again, well, these dollars do not include. These are dollars from our investments. They are not dollars from the COPS issuance. So we'll just need to make a decision if we want to put those COPS issuance dollars back into the PI. And I might suggest that we do, and I'll show you why I think that's probably a good idea.
So, I'm sorry, can I ask a question?
Yes, yes.
So this is year by year showing just the interest income we're making, right? So you're saying that.
That's our projections, and that's what
Projections,
I'll
okay.
build into the 5-year forecast.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's what. So when you see that, you know they're not. Yeah, they're estimates, but they're educated estimates.
So with the decline there in 30 and 31, is that due to less funds being in there collecting interest?
Yes. And you'll see that as well. So, and that's because our cash reserves are disappearing.
Yeah.
So estimated income assumption, so, you know, things that we factored in, of course, these are market based, so that's important to know. Interest rates so far are unchanged. We keep, I think they're going to go, I think they're going to change, but we haven't seen that yet. Market participants anticipate the possibility of rate increases later this year. So again, we don't know the magnitude of those changes. And those investment rates are based on assumptions from the Federal Reserve policy, of course. And interest projections assume the average value of the investment portfolio could fluctuate. And liquidity is going to be more and more important and much harder to manage in terms of how much we can invest, because our reserves are just getting narrower and we're depleting our reserves. Our PI forecast. So a couple things I want to bring to your attention. I gave you 2 documents. The second document will give you the specificity of why these numbers say what they say. So I think that's helpful. But I tried to put it on the screen and you can't even see it. The numbers are just too small. And these are pretty small as well. But this is the overall view. This is an important number. What is that $440,000? That's our first COPS payment. It's leveled in, and you can see next to it, it jumps up to $1,028,000, and it pretty much stays that level until the debt is retired. Next thing, you'll see a large spike in fiscal year 29. Now, Rich has talked about and has done, and his staff sincerely has done an amazing job of caring for the turf, because turf, it doesn't just last forever. You have to constantly repair it. They sow it. They do. Are these black seeded underneath? Is that what this turf is?
Yes.
Yeah. So they have to inject those back into the turf. They come out. Eventually, it'll get hard and it'll rip and it'll become potentially dangerous if you left it too long. But we keep extending the life of it. This is where we think now. With that being said, we do have a sinking fund of a little over $200,000, which is not on here, to help offset this cost. And additionally, we are working with a sponsor, and we're not there yet, and that'll be Dr. Rutino's light to shine, but we may significantly reduce this number. I anticipate that we will, but for conservative purposes, I'm just assuming all of it. The last thing, you'll see that large spike on capital projects at the high school. That is in large part, or a fairly large part of it, is the stadium lights and the bands, or the stadium lights, I'm sorry, there. Again, I don't reflect any insurance money coming back in, so it'll improve. This is worst case scenario. And the reason that I'd also like to see potentially that interest coming back, outside of these 2 years, at least for the foreseeable future, we're not projecting much of a deficit. If we put the interest back in there, we could keep this from dwindling. And at least that's one part of our finances we can, it's a small piece, the PI, but it's an important piece, and we can shore it up a little bit. So I also wanted to address the question of why are we on the ballot? Why is that? And you're going to hear one part of it that you get tired of, and I know, but I think it's so important. House Bill 920. You've heard of that, and I'm going to keep saying it. I hope you get bored of it. Again, House Bill 920 freezes our revenue year over year over year, and I'm going to show you specifically what that looks like. The county auditor will ratchet down our millage rates to ensure that we do not collect more. And I know there's folks out there who say, it went up, my property value went up X dollars, 22%, or whatever it might be. I'm not denying that that's true, but what I can tell you is we did not see a dime of that money. The only increase we see is minimal increase, which I'll show you, but that is on inside millage, and it is capped at 3%. Of course, with our revenue being capped, we know that no matter what we do, costs are gonna rise year over year over year. I don't think anyone would argue that. They're experiencing it in our own home lives. So when you consider the fact that our healthcare costs are going to increase anywhere from 7 to 15% year over year, annual inflation right now it's at 3.2%. It's been as high as 4. 2 is the Fed's goal. And then on top of that, just to make the conversation even more interesting, we have a high school that's 76 years old. And some people would say, well, my house is 75 years old and I'm not getting rid of my house. Well, first of all, we're not getting rid of the high school, first of all. But secondly, you don't have 1,600 kids slamming your front door every day, in and out, in and out. You don't have 1,600 kids plus staff flushing toilets over and over and over and over. The wear and tear that our buildings take, because they're, and they're high school students on top of it. I mean, so that's a lot of years on that building, and we are playing with fire unless we make some significant investments in this building in terms of a large cost coming our way.
I would also-
Roof being one of them.
Okay, I would like to add too that when somebody makes the claim that their home is 75 years old, it's pretty safe to assume that they've probably been through 2 or 3 roofs.
At least.
New windows,
Yep.
new furnace, new floors, things that we really haven't had the luxury of having here. And that's the intent behind this, and that's why we're not tearing it down and starting over. We're putting a new roof, new windows, new floors, etc.
And a great example of that is the Buckeye boilers are 65 years old. Those are going to get replaced. So we can, those are things that we need. I'm glad we're being able to do that to our elementaries. I'm glad we'll be able to bring our elementaries up to standard, but our high school is not.
I think we talk about fixed costs too. I think one thing we need to continue to say is one of the costs that we can't control. We can to somewhat, we've said 80% of our costs are people, we know that.
Yeah.
But the one cost that's continuing to go up and it's going to continue to go up is energy.
Yeah.
And we talked about it on the Buckeye page. We spend a lot of money to heat the outside at Buckeye because of what the heat goes in the windows and it just goes outside. So being more efficient and upgrading those facilities to put efficient windows and efficient energy systems in there is a savings. Is it again, what is the measure of that savings? We can't say till we do it and when everything pans out. But we know ultimately down the road we're going to be ahead. And I think that's a big key too, as well, is this is a cost-efficient thing, and we are at the point where you don't want to be forced to do it, because then it gets really expensive when it's, hey, you have to do this now, but when you can bid it and make it so that it's very, and as part of a building plan, you can control your costs a little more.
So again, keep these numbers in mind. Keep them at the forefront of your mind. On top of those, the Fair School Funding Act, we are still, it's a new formula, new funding formula. And yes, it's the new funding formula that was developed, except it's been frozen at fiscal year 22 inputs. In other words, staffing salaries, operating costs, all of those things that go into the funding model, they've just left frozen since 2022. The formula, although, assumes that it's the full funding formula. And as a result, we lose more and more state funding. It puts all the pressure on the local property tax. I'll show you that in percentages. So again, 3 years without updated base costs, and this has been the result. Since 25 to 27, the state share has gone from 38.4% to 32.2%, and it's continuing to decrease and decrease year over year. So when that decreases by 4.2%, who picks up their balance? Local property taxes, of which we know is not happening because of House Bill 920, We eat into our cash reserves.
I think there's one more point to make on that is because of how we're considered a wealthy district, right?
Yes.
So there's even a more dependency on the public to support us because of that, correct?
Yes, that's very true. And additionally, we're considered wealthy, and we have very little industry compared to some of our neighboring districts like Mayfield or Mentor or even Willoughby Eastlake has significantly more industry, which offsets some of the pressure on homeowners.
And I think if you look that up, like you can go on and look at it, really clearly states that we are ranked by wealth, and the more wealthy you are, the more
The less state share you get, and the
And
more
more
they
like-
expect that your local property
And
taxes carry the
95%,
load.
I think, I wanna say it's in the 90% of our property tax comes from type A, which is residential and agriculture. And so we do not see where the type, type 2 income tax for businesses and everything else. And that's, so as tax rates rise, it goes back to the homeowner, and that's a concern.
And I'm not saying that's right, I think it's important for people to understand that
Agreed.
there's kind of that double, it's, right? So you have
Double-edged
House,
sword.
yeah, you have House Bill 920, but also there's that other piece that falls on our
Absolutely.
shoulders.
Absolutely. And of course, that percentage is an outdated calculation, and it's inadequate. It isn't funding schools the way the formula was designed to fund. So this is our evidence. This is our fact sheet. This is our fact sheet. So local property taxes, this is what we're projecting. If you look at annual growth, look at those percentages of growth. Now keep in mind, 0.0006. Now, 0.01. We're nowhere near even a 1% growth in collections of local property taxes. But yet, healthcare is going up 7 to 15%. Inflation's at 3.2%. And that's what I model here, and I'll get to that in just a second. So our total share, so we must be getting a lot from the state, right? 0.006, 0.008, 0.007, 0.02. Those are our increases, projected increases, and those are historical. So I wanted to benchmark that against what if we just increased by inflation? Just inflation, that's it. That's the only increase we would get. We would be at 59.8 versus 57.9, a difference of $1.8 million here. In fiscal year 27. We would have a shortfall of $3.3 million in fiscal year 28. $4.8 million, almost $4.9 million in 29, and $5.6 million in 30. For a total, that's $15 million more over a 4-year time span that we could have if we just increased at the rate of inflation. And I don't think anybody could argue that we could somehow cut inflation. That's not adding programming. That's not looking at gifted. That's not building a building. That's just paying the bills. That's just paying the bills. So, and we haven't gone back to the community for an ask for 10 years. The average in Ohio is every 4.5 years. So, it is I would just encourage us to look. These are the facts, and make your decision based on the facts. So, what is the ask? What are we asking for? So, of course, this is an earned income tax, 1%, that applies to wages and self-employment income, not Social Security, not your pension, or your retirement income. It's not a forever tax. Most of us, to pay off this COPS issuance to build this building is 35 years. If we were to pass a bond issue, traditional bond issue, it'd be 35 years. Most of us would be long retired before that bond issue would be retired. Meaning, as we age out, we're still paying the tax in the form of a property tax. If we just retire, the tax goes away. We're projecting that 60% of those dollars that would be received from an earned income tax would go to operations, and 40% roughly would go to facilities. So, operations going to support what? Our people, programs, services, day-to-day resources required to serve the students of Riverside. Without additional dollars, we are to a point where we would be forced to cut programming. We would be forced to increase student-to-teacher ratios. We would be forced to take a hard look at transportation. All those things are going to come up. They're going to be real. And this is our one-time opportunity to not only address those operational needs, but at 1% address our facility as well, which is to renovate the high school, demolish the current junior high, and construct a new 7-8 facility attached to a newly renovated high school. The idea of a new high school is not new. There was a lot of work that went into that in 2022. It was not received well by the voting population or the community. We heard you, scaled it back by $45 million. And we also heard that there's a lot of folks that want to see that building remain. So that is what the ask is. Our levy committee's working hard to get that information out. That's where we are. On August 13th, I'll present the 5-year forecast. I'll build models also to show levy passage, levy failure, some of those things as the impact is on the 5-year forecast. I think as a board, you certainly have to know and understand that, and you need that information to make good decisions. So that's where we are. We'll plan administratively for every scenario that we can possibly think of to be prepared moving forward. But roughly, we're going to be somewhere around a little over $4 million in deficit spending next year. And that's why. So I hope that brings some clarity to why it happens and how it's not mismanagement of dollars. We'll also talk in August about what all the things that we've done to reduce costs and the dollar figures associated with that as well.
Can I ask a question? So the board has in the resolution that we passed, said 80-20. This says 60-40. I get it, that's an estimate. The 80-20 doesn't have to go by resolution every year, because that's going to be 20% is going to go into another fund. If we go 60, the extra 20% would have to go by board resolution every year.
Correct, and it is hard to put a percent on that, because in the beginning, it's going to be 1% because of our collection is so low, but yes.
Whatever it turns out to be, more than the 20%.
Long term, I believe it'll be more closer to that number than what, 60-40.
It also grows, but the cops payment will be fixed.
Right, but the 20% won't have to be by resolution, because that's just going to go, anything in excess of 20% that would have to go to PI will have to be by board resolution as a transfer.
And we will create an account where we can place money in that account, holding those dollars, the COPS dollars that is, and be able to have more latitude on transition of those dollars versus into the PI, which once you put it in the PI, you can't take it back out. So that's how we'll manage that percentage until we get in a groove of having full collections and knowing what our payments are, which that'll be a solid number, but we just don't know. But our revenue is not a solid number. That's a fluctuating number.
And it's really just something that we are committing future boards to having to do, and they're not going to not be able to do it because that's going to be a loan payment that we have to make, and we don't want to go into default. But
it forces any future boards not to be able to default in appropriations from year to year.
Director Thompson, a couple questions. Thank you
Yes,
for this, by
yes,
the way.
sir.
The annual growth of 0.0006 is the annual growth in property tax money that we're collecting despite home values going up by 20+%.
And that's because of House Bill 94.
Yeah, and I think that's a very big takeaway from your presentation.
Mhm.
And we know that earned income, if were to pass, would last indefinitely without the decision of either the board or the community. But you paying it as a citizen would end at your retirement, whereas a traditional property tax levy would last for 35 years, and for the citizen, it would last until either death or by design of selling the property.
Correct.
The other thing about earned income, as you think more and more about what the parts on property tax are, is the earned income tax will fluctuate based on your actual income, whereas property tax fluctuates based on the value of your home. You don't see those dollars, you see the income dollars. So that is a change where you hear a lot of, oh, now my house is worth this much dollars. I don't see any of that money because I haven't sold it, but you have to pay on that value. The earned income tax itself will change as your income changes. The other thing that I think is, I talked about this even with my own kids, is my son now has his first job and he's learned what taxes are. Like, yeah, guess what? You may even get to pay for education at some point and pay my salary. And so he was kind of laughing about that. But it is, for the first time, our kids who are working are going to have a share in funding their education. I think that's kind of a neat thing.
Well, I think something you mentioned before was, you know, the house value goes up, property tax goes up, but maybe your wages did not go up. And so you get, you know, your wages go down in this situation, it's directly, what you pay in tax is directly affected. So you're not paying the tax if for some reason you lose your job.
Correct.
And those on the fixed income aren't impacted. I think that is what we've heard time and time again.
Right, so the recent action by the commissioners, what was it, 670, is that this, or is that going to be in the report?
That'll be in the 5-year
Okay.
forecast. So that is great news if the county commissioners, I think, listened. We spent some time talking with them. A lot of superintendents and treasurers did. Initially, our initial conversations were met with resistance. It was outward, no, we're going to stick to this. And I give them a lot of credit. Morgan McIntosh and Morris Beveridge listened to us a couple of different times and struck a compromise, which was still giving some relief to the tune of about $650,000 roughly, and then roughly $650,000 back to us. That'll be reflected in the 5-year forecast. So that helps. That definitely helps. That's a large number. Multiply that times 5 or 4 over the 4-year forecast. You know, that's a decent number, $2.4 million on that back end of that forecast. So it's helpful. Thank you, Morris, and thank you, Mr. McIntosh, Mr. Beveridge.
Thank you for your report.
You're welcome.
All right, that brings us to public participation. So anyone wishing to address the Board of Education will be recognized by the board president. Speakers are requested to speak from the seat, identify themselves and their topic. Comments are limited to 3 minutes.
From the seat.
I was gonna say the podium.
Yeah.
It says the podium, so I adjusted. Any public participation tonight? No?
All on you.
Okay. All right, thank you. So that brings us to our consent agenda. First up is finance and audit.
All right. I have a motion to approve items listed A through L on the finance audit consent agenda as recommended by the treasurer. Can I get a second?
Second.
One thing I want to point out is we did have one donation of $500 from SSC Controls Company to RAVE program. So we'd like to thank them. Any discussion?
Ms. Brewster,
Aye.
Mrs. Krasinski,
Aye.
Mr. Byers,
Aye.
Mr. Ardino,
Aye.
Mrs. Grassi.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
That brings us to personnel.
I have a motion to approve items listed A through G on the personal consent agenda as recommended by the superintendent. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
just to make note, A is removing,
Excluding
Yeah,
Ms.
yeah.
Hopper.
and we'll vote on that separately?
Yep.
Perfect. No, I didn't know, just clarifying.
Yep. I almost thought. Any discussion? You can take roll.
Yes, sir. Mr. Byers,
Aye.
Mrs. Grassi,
Aye.
Ms. Brewster,
Aye.
Mrs. Kaminsky,
Aye.
and Mr. Adino.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
We have an additional motion that we pulled from A to approve item I on the personal consent agenda as recommended by the superintendent. Can I get a second?
A second?
Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to make it clear as to why I asked for this. Ms. Hopper, whose reputation precedes my working relationship with her, I'm sure is more than qualified, but she and I have had a working past together, and I think it's just appropriate for me to abstain, so I will be abstaining on roll time.
Anything else? You can take roll.
Mrs. Kronensky,
Aye.
Mrs. Grassi,
Aye.
Ms. Brewster,
Aye.
and Mr. Byers.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0 with 1 abstention.
Brings us to, we do not have a consent agenda for curriculum and programming. All right, so that brings us to the consent agenda for buildings and grounds and operations.
We have a motion to approve the items listed on the buildings and grounds operations consent agenda as recommended by the superintendent, items A and B.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on that? None, and can we call the roll, please?
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Grassi,
Aye.
Ms. Brewster,
Aye.
Mr. Adino,
Aye.
Mr. Byers,
Aye.
Mrs. Kwininski.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, that brings us to our Board of Education update, and I would like to extend a moment to Dr. Merlacher, if she would like a moment.
Thank you. I would like a moment. You and you back there, hush. I get a moment. So.
3
You
minutes.
haven't had one this month.
Well, maybe this week, and it's only Thursday. No, I wanted to just take a minute to thank everyone, the board, everybody, for allowing me to have such a wonderful career at Riverside. You know, I started as a student, I was a staff member, I was a parent. When you spend this time reflecting on 32 years and you think about, I mean, I've seen some of the lowest of the lows, not passing levies, you know, the deep cuts that affected us, the terrible negotiations that we went through, the asbestos issues at Hale Road, you know, but I've also seen the highest of the highs, levies passed, buildings built, grants awarded, new programs started, performances by the kids, graduations, athletic achievements, homecoming parade, all those wonderful things that brought us together as a community, not just as a school community, but as an entire community, was so impactful. Each one of those experiences helped me to grow and learn, become the educator that I am today. And even though I talked about all those experiences, the most important thing and the most impactful thing have been the relationships that I was lucky enough to build in 32 years. The teachers I taught with at Mammouth, this is so appropriate because that's how I thought of my career. Those teachers that taught me how to be a teacher. The teachers who taught me how to be an administrator. The teachers at Riverside. The teachers at Madison Avenue, and for a brief stint, Hale Road, Haddon in the preschool.
Yeah.
They all, I had a chance there to spend some time with those teachers. And then the central office team. We are one dysfunctional family. And that is, I can say that with all of the love in my voice, and our family extends to the secretaries and to accounting. Jim and Chuck and Gary and Cheryl, who I miss dearly and missed, you know, for the past year or two. Mallory, Nick and Mike, who have been around for a really long time, and I've just been so lucky to see, especially Mallory and Nick, gonna mother you two a little bit, grow into their positions and just become so strong and so influential. Steve and Camille, who were new to our team, and just brought change, but it wasn't bad. So it's not gonna be bad.
I'll take it.
And I say it like that because as I leave, that's what everybody gets up, change, people fear change. And I was no different, and it's been wonderful, and Chris, thank you for pushing me these last 3 years to continue to go all in on my job. It would have been really easy to cash out as Jim and Chuck left, and as Cheryl left, and as those that were closest to me left. When Chris said we're friends, we are. We share a lot of very similar beliefs, but we also never have shied away from poking at each other and pushing each other to be, I think, the best that we could be. And it was a fantastic way to end my career here. So to the board and to the Riverside community, students, staff, parents, community members, thank you for an absolutely wonderful 32 years. I consider myself lucky to have had my time here. And that is truly how I think about it. And now I hand the baton off to you, Dave Leone. I hope you grow to love this staff, this community, and this district as I have for 32 years. Thank you. I'll be
Woo-hoo!
That's why we had to do it at the end.
I think it's time for hugs, Melissa.
I know,
Hugs and cake.
Let's go quick.
Hugs and cake,
I
yeah.
would just like to, we've grown through this position because I got here when you got here, Melissa. When I got on the board, Melissa was just taking over the helm well, you were at the junior high, you were here, you were at the campus.
Yeah, I was probably just assistant pupil services director.
And then you took over the helm at Madison Avenue.
Yeah.
Because I was the aerobics Nazi.
Literally, she walked in and I go, oh my God, she teaches steps at the Y, and I call her the
And I was like,
aerobics Nazi.
right, and-
That's a true story.
It is a true story. It was so funny. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know that was you. It was really funny. So we have grown through lots of things together, and I can't think of anybody who has put more time and effort into this district than you. Can I have a hug? You owe me. You owe me.
Come here, you little
Like
thing.
an iron deal. Thank you for everything. It's been wonderful here.
Yes, it's been wonderful being here.
And this district will miss you.
Thank you.
You heard me say that.
I just
You did. Quote it, everyone. It's on camera.
Well, I hope at some point our paths cross again. I don't know in what capacity. I don't know how that looks, but I hope someday. our
She's gonna
paths
come
will-
back to the Y.
I don't mean you and me. It's a collective. Thank you. No, our paths are not going to cross that way. Thank you.
I don't know if anybody else has a board update can top that.
We'll leave it go.
Are we done with board updates?
I just had two things I just wanted to ask about. When we had the groundbreaking at Buckeye, there was a concern expressed about communicating with the neighbors that abut. I don't know if we've done that. There's a lot of activity. I'm just expressing what her concern was.
We took care of it.
Okay, so we're good. All right, and then the trailers, I remember at Melridge, there was something about the wiring from the building going through them, but that got resolved because you were able to remove the trailers?
Well, the
At
wiring was
Melridge.
Melridge's trailer for their parking lot.
We are, the Melridge modular is remaining as no students in it or no people.
Okay,
in
so
it.
those haven't been
We
removed.
have
Because
not.
that's
I
the
just
one
wanted to
power
clarify.
runs
Yeah.
through.
The
Yeah,
power
that's what I
runs with
thought.
The Buckeye, the third Buckeye modular was removed with that kind.
Okay, okay, I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Great, next meeting announcements, we have Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting August 11th at 7:30 a.m. Curriculum and Programming Committee meeting August 12th at 7:30 a.m. Board of Education meeting August 13th at 6 p.m.
And this is where there's a change.
Where?
Finance, are we good with this other new?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Finance and Audit is August 17th.
Yes.
at 7 a.m. Board of Education meeting August 27th at 6 p.m. Be it resolved, if we go to executive session right now, do we have time to say goodbye and cakes, or should I wait to go to executive session?
I
I
would,
would, yeah,
I'm sorry.
oh, go ahead.
You're an attorney, you know more than me.
You can do it, you can do it either way.
Okay,
It's fine.
and we're
So
good?
if you want to go into executive session and then just adjourn from the executive session, do the cake, and then go back into executive session, that's fine.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because, you know, we don't want Dr.
You have to
Malacca to
stay.
sneak out. real
Yeah.
quick, So.
Because it hasn't been enough of a spectacle.
All right, so I will go. So be it resolved that the Riverside Local School District Board of Education hereby adjourns to executive session at 8:30 p.m. For the purpose of discussing the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official. Riverside Local School District Board of Education hereby designates all matters discussed in the executive session as strictly confidential and finds that this designation is warranted because of the status of this matter and the need to preserve confidentiality to properly conduct the business of this Board of Education. Can I get a second?
Second.
Take whatever you want.
Would you write down?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss, what?
Yes.
I wrote down 8:30 PM. Is that
Yeah,
what you
but
asked?
Ms.
Second.
Grassi,
Second.
second.
Who got
Oh,
it?
yeah, I got it.
Grassi?
I got it,
Okay.
yeah.
Come on, we'll rock, paper, scissors for it.
Yeah, go ahead, call roll, please.
Mrs. Brewster.
I,
Mr. Koninsky.
Aye.
Mr. Byers.
Aye.
Mrs. Grassi.
Aye.
And Mr. Adino.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, and then just make a motion